How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
Eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.
this the end? There's a noise inside my head of crying people facing death. Is this the end? Is this the end? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final time. What have we done to the world? What have we done to the world? I'm burning in the stone. There's no place to hide. I'm burning in the stone. This is the final
What up, guys? Happy Friday. We did it. We did it. We did it. We made it through another week. I'm going to need everyone on YouTube right now to go ahead and mount the like button for me, because this is obviously and clearly a day where YouTube is not sending out notifications. I can always tell the days that YouTube is not sending out the notifications, and this is one of those days. And I keep telling people, I'm like, will you please stop relying on YouTube notifications? I go live at 5 p.m. every single day, except for Saturdays when we go live at 6 p.m. and Sundays when I don't go live at all. And people, even like very long time viewers of my channel, come in and they say, Karlyn, how come I didn't get a notification? And I'm like, I don't fucking control YouTube. You think I control YouTube? I have been shadow banned on YouTube for literally years. You think I control YouTube? I control that I go live at 5 p.m. every single day, thereabouts. And you guys get to control whether or not you want to show up for it. But if you're relying on YouTube notifications, I can't tell you how many longtime viewers of my channel just this week have said, but I didn't get a notification from YouTube. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what to tell you. I can't control that. I can't control that at all. So guys, please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure you are have notifications on, because maybe the reason you're not getting a notification is you never turn them on. Did you ever think of that? Maybe that's what's actually going on. All right. We got to get some more people in here. I had more people watching for Spy Stream earlier. That's okay. I think we will get more people joining us because people love to come for drama days. I'm doing this new thing. It's not really a new thing, but kind of a new thing where I'm trying to make streams on Friday just a little bit more fun. Happy Hour started. It is funny. I don't know if people know the lore of this. So Happy Hour on Friday started in 2021 when I was still covering just more general news content and kind of just dicking around with this streaming stuff. And then on Fridays, we would watch a woke training from start to finish. And I named it Happy Hour to be a bit ironic. And just to be like, yeah, we're doing Happy Hour by watching a diversity training. And then we would drink beer and like I would get drunk on the stream and we'd laugh at the diversity training. That was how all this stuff started. Can we just go back to the beginning of how I started infiltrating the left? This is actually the story. We used to seriously just watch diversity training on Fridays so I could get drunk on the internet and make fun of the diversity trainers. That was seriously what began the long descent into the socialist utopia. And then as we started finding more and more and more crazy stuff, I just started watching more and more and more of it because I was like, what are we going to see next? What's happening next? Like what? And it just like, it snowballed. And here we are over 4.5 years later, watching almost nothing but leftist content because it's still so insane and we can't get enough of it. But we are still drinking beer on Fridays because it is happy hour. And now I'm trying to transition happy hour into being more, let's do a lighthearted fun stream for once. So we can take a break from all the crazy left content. So what I decided to do today, guys, for our stream is we're going to watch Candace Owens. Because Candace Owens has a couple episodes up where she's dragging Jordan Peterson. She's got this one from like 8 days ago. It's time for Jordan Peterson to clean his own room. And then she's got this one from 3 days ago. Everyone who disagrees with me is a psyop. And that was apparently her last show before she went on maternity leave. So I thought we could just kind of watch Candace Owens drag Jordan Peterson because Jordan Peterson is nuts now. And it's so sad. And like, I'm not the biggest fan of Candace Owens either, but I actually currently think, unironically, that Candace Owens is more hinged into reality than Jordan Peterson. Like, Candace says crazy things, and sometimes Candace has really crazy ideas, but we can all admit that Candace's interview with the USS Liberty guy, that was phenomenal. Candace's expose about Brigitte Macron being a man was so well done. I completely doubted Candace going into that. And people were like, I watched the documentary back to back for 6 hours on my channel because I couldn't stop watching because I was like, holy shit, Candace Owens actually did a really good job. And it kind of makes me want to watch some of Candace Owens' other content, to be honest. I was never a fan of hers because I think that she's a narcissist. And I think that I know personally that Candace Owens has done very underhanded things to people. Just people like I know in real life. Also, Candace Owens blocked me on Twitter because after Candace Owens recorded private conversations with Nicole Arbour and Nicole Arbour released that information, I talked to Nicole Arbour and had her on my channel. And apparently Candace Owens was like, actually, like, I'm like a small little fucking channel. I don't know why Candace Owens is even worried about someone like me, but Candace Owens, I had never interacted with her on Twitter before. After I had Nicole Arbour on my channel, she proactively sought me out to block me. I had never interacted with the woman before. So maybe I'm just a little annoyed about that, Candace. It's not my fault you secretly recorded someone's phone calls and tried to use it against them. All right. But let me just say, like, there are reasons that I don't like Candace Owens, okay? But I also call a spade a spade. I will call balls and strikes. If Candace Owens does good work, I will say, yeah, that Brigitte Macron documentary was pretty effing crazy, Candace. And that was really well done. And so I think that Jordan Peterson has turned into an unhinged nutcase. It's really disappointing. I really wish his daughter would maybe get him off the internet if she actually cares, which I don't think his daughter is actually that smart, if I'm honest about it. There was a time I was like, why are people even listening to Michaela Peterson? Like, is Michaela Peterson some sort of genius? And then I listened to Michaela Peterson a couple times. I was like, no, Michaela Peterson is not a genius. No, she's not. Michaela Peterson is not a genius. The only thing that Michaela Peterson has going for her is she's hot and she's Jordan Peterson's daughter. And that is why Michaela Peterson is famous. She's hot and she's Jordan Peterson's daughter. Probably more important that she's Jordan Peterson's daughter. There are a lot of hot people in the world that aren't famous, but she's Jordan Peterson's daughter. And so we all have to pretend that Michaela Peterson is smart. I don't think Michaela Peterson is smart. I'm sorry. I just don't. Maybe, people can disagree. That's fine. So we're going to be watching these episodes where Candace Owens is dragging Jordan Peterson. I want to get her perspective on the whole kind of like Joe Rogan episode and generally the crazy unhinged things that Candace is saying anyway. So that's what we're going to do today, guys. But before we get into it, I have a couple orders of business. First off, really quick, can I show you guys something? This just pissed me off and I have to share this. So I was perusing my homepage on my other YouTube account, which is the account that I use to watch all this content. And I got a recommendation that has really pissed me off. And we're probably going to watch it at some point, but I'm not going to do it today because today is happy hour. This is Karlyn's happy time. All right. This is Karlyn's happy time with beer and drama. So we're not going to do this today. But look at this video that I got recommended. Hang on, what is this? LGBTQ history from a historical society? Watch later. Thank you. Look at this video that I got recommended. Is spirituality under capitalism just systematized gaslighting? I'm sorry, what? What? Is spirituality under capitalism just systematized gaslighting? They ruin everything. The left ruins everything. Everything. I was also recommended a video from my new favorite person, Daniel, though. Daniel is one of the people we watched on Disenraged this last week. He channeled the Palladians. I love Daniel. Daniel's like my new favorite channel on the internet. I'm definitely getting back into the channeling stuff. I haven't watched channeling content like regularly in years, but for people who don't watch Disenraged is a show I do on Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. with Jennifer, where we watch spiritual content and we talk about it. And I have to say, like, we watched an episode where two channels were channeling the Palladians this past week. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But like, I felt so good after it. And I was like, I want to channel more Palladian stuff. What else can we do today? And so like, and Daniel was one of the people that was channeling them. And it was so quirky, but it was also so good. I was like, I need to watch more of this guy. Anyway, so I got a good recommendation and a bad recommendation. So thus is the, first they came. Yeah, exactly. First they came for the knitters. And then they came for the witchcraft. And then they came for the spirituality. The left ruins everything. Everything is capitalism for the left. Every single thing, every dang time. Oh, actually, that reminds me. That reminds me of something I was going to show you guys that we were going to go through before the stream started. Do I want to do this now or do I want to do this on Monday? You know what? Let's do it on Monday. That's the thing I want to do. So there was a kid that went viral on Twitter. I'll give you guys a preview. There was a kid that went viral on Twitter yesterday for going undercover at the May Day protests. And he's a young kid and he didn't really know what he was doing. And he thought he knew what he was doing, but he didn't. And he thought he was going to show up at the May Day protest in Atlanta, and they were all going to be like old white people because that was what conservative media told him. And then he showed up, and he's like, "They're all fucking communists." And so he posted a whole bunch of footage on Twitter yesterday, and he got so many things wrong in his analysis. And I, in typical me fashion, I basically said to him, I was like, you're wrong for a reason X, Y, B, and Z. I never talked to this person before, but I'm so used to people ignoring me that I just don't care anymore. And I kind of slid into, and he actually responded to me. He's like, no, I'm not wrong. And I'm like, yeah, you really are. And I'm not trying to make this personal, but you're really wrong. And then I slid into his DMs. I was like, please, if you're going to cover this stuff, please you have to understand it better than you do. And that actually led to a really good conversation between him and I, where he was totally open to getting feedback, and he started asking me questions about things. And he was like, this is great. I have more information. I was like, holy shit. Someone covering the left that's new to this is being receptive to feedback. Anyway, so I was going to go through his thread and kind of like point out productively all the things that he didn't exactly get right, and maybe some things he got right too, because his footage is actually really good and he does want to cover more leftist events. But I think I'm going to put that off until Monday, because I don't want to do it right now. I think it'll take up like half the stream. So we're going to do that on Monday. And it was actually a really nice experience to talk to someone who's just starting to cover the left, that actually does want to learn this stuff and does find it valuable. So I was like, hey, that's a win. That's a win. I'll take it. So more importantly, guys, we do have some breaking news on an exclusive over on the Substack. As many of you know, I did have Spy Stream earlier today. Spy Stream is when we go inside a live leftist training and we talk about it. We don't talk about it in the training, obviously, but we watch the training just unfold as it would. And today we went inside a live discussion with the public school teachers in the glorious state, my homeland, communist Vermont. And I knew this training was going to be communist. I knew it was going to be leftist. I did not anticipate quite how perfect the clip we got from this training is. And there are more clips from this that I haven't released yet. I was just on a time crunch, so I wanted to get the main piece of information out there, which is teachers in Vermont are openly defying the Trump administration. They're not even hiding it. They're saying it overtly. And we got them on video saying it this morning. So do you guys want to see what came up this morning? Let me show you the clip. I have it on Twitter. And I'll put the link to Twitter in the chat if you guys want to share it. Please, guys, remember, every time I post clips like this, I need you guys to do 5 things. I need you to like the post. I need you to reply to the post with something, with anything. Ideally, something related to the clip, but just reply to the post. I need you to bookmark the post. This is really important. The algorithm likes bookmarks. I need you to retweet the post, and I need you to quote tweet the post and say something productive. All right? If you do those 5 things, you're going to help my content get in front of more people. Doesn't cost you anything, just takes a second of your time. So again, I need you to like the post, reply to the post, bookmark the post, retweet the post, quote tweet the post. If you quote tweet the post, chances are, unless you say something inappropriate, I'm going to retweet you then to get more eyes on it. So this is how we spread the word about this content. Let me show you what was said today, just in case you missed the teacher training earlier today from, well, it was about the Hartford School District, which is a public school district in Vermont.
Yeah, this is
We'll
an example of. There's a question in the chat. Can you comment on the Trump executive order regarding only teaching the gender binary and how you're going to make sure students have a different perspective?
We have a gender inclusivity policy that covers that, and we follow our policies, our Vermont policies, our school policies. Our board has said already we are doing what we believe is right. Again, there's no price on students' lives, and so because we have those policies in place, anti-racism one and the gender inclusivity one that covers all those pieces about transgender students being able to use whichever bathrooms they want. The locker room's the same thing, like that's all in there. And we knew this stuff was coming. So it was like, let's get this done. And so we have those pieces. So if people are asking, we're like, no, we follow our policies. These are board policies. If you want us to revisit, you can, but like, we have to uphold these. And so we have that in place, which I think is helpful in terms of all the Trump stuff coming down, that we're like, no, we're still doing what we believe is right. And we have our backing through policies.
And Julia, this is an example of supportive leadership, maybe. It sounds like your admin team did not even consider following that executive order.
No. Mm-mm. And that, again, was with the superintendent being like, nope, we're not. There's no reason for us to. And he hasn't even done anything. It was just the fear of losing money. And it was like, it's just the fear of it. Like, why would we just bow to that? Like, there was no reason. And so we've taken that stand, and because it comes from the superintendent, even if the principals and the administrators are against that, it doesn't, like, they have to fall in line in some ways, right? Like we've talked about it, we've talked to our lawyers about it, but it's still from the top is like, nope, the board and the superintendent are both saying very vocally, very publicly, we are continuing our DEI work, and we have so far. I mean, things could still change, things could get really bad, but we're continuing and we've been okay. So and then I think there's a courage piece also, where if we're not the only school doing that, if other schools are doing that as well, then we're feeling safer, right? There's like, in numbers, if we can do it and you can do it, then all of a sudden, like, we're all doing this. All of Vermont is doing this. Who cares what Trump says? We're all committed to it together.
As a social studies educator, this is a real civics moment that we're observing here, because education has never been
a real civics moment
system in the United States, even though we have a federal agency of education. And so many schools are, as Alyssa mentioned, are just proactively giving into executive orders that don't really have authority over them. And the lever that they have, of course, is federal funding, which is real, right? That's very real. But it's great to hear that your school is taking the courageous approach, Julia, and it sounds like being really strategic about where DEI funding comes from so that federal funding isn't directly linked to DEI work.
Okay, and then the clip just goes on to show like the teachers that were on the webinar. There were teachers from all over the state. I was legitimately kind of shocked at just like there were teachers literally from the northernmost part of the state all the way down to the most southern part of the state that were on that webinar, all talking about how do they defy the Trump administration to continue teaching equity and DEI and gender stuff in their schools. I have clips of this that I haven't released yet. Again, I just had a time crunch today. So I still do have clips I'm going to release. Also, they sent out these follow-up emails right after the webinar where they gave me all their training stuff. They gave me all their DEI training stuff. Like I got so many files from these people on the follow-up emails. And I was almost like, do I hold off on even publishing this until Monday so I have time to go through the files? But I was like, no, let's just get this clip out now and then I can go through the file. And I've looked at some of the files and I'm like, they gave us their entire facilitated training. It was crazy the amount of stuff these people sent out. So thank you, Coalition for Educational Justice in Vermont, for allowing me to come to your webinar under a name that wasn't my name, so you didn't know it was me, and expose you guys for openly defying the Trump administration. I have made sure to send this clip to Harmeet Dillon, who is, of course, the Assistant Attorney General. So at least one very high-ranking person in the Trump administration has been notified of this. And honestly, this is a hammer that I'm going to keep. This is a nail that I'm going to keep beating with the hammer, because we're seeing so much stuff come out of Vermont. Like, this is not even the first thing we've seen come out of Vermont. And I said this was going to happen with Vermont years ago. Vermont is going into a state of open rebellion against the Trump administration because they're all effing communists. And so you're going to see teachers in school districts, literally, probably almost every single school district in the state of Vermont, openly defying the Trump administration. And I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. So hopefully someone in the Trump administration actually does something about this, because this is not just one school district in the state of Vermont. I want to make this very clear. This is not just one school district. The ATF and the NEA are organizing with radical socialists in the Tempest Collective and this Educational Coalition for Justice thing, and they're communicating with schools all over the state. They literally want this to be a statewide thing. There was also someone from the Vermont Agency of Education on the webinar. And apparently, like the Department of Education in Vermont is totally on board with this stuff. So the state of Vermont is in open rebellion of the Trump administration, like all across the state. And I don't know how Trump doesn't do something about this. It's like, I understand Vermont is a small state and people, and the only reason I'm probably as interested in it as I am is because I grew up there. But like, I understand this, that Vermont is a small state. I understand that a lot of people don't even realize that Vermont is a state. But like, if you have even a small state where every single school is in open rebellion against the federal government, like, that to me seems to be a problem, because if they can do that all across one state, eventually other states are going to catch on to this. And they're in like Massachusetts. You can like it is a very short drive from Vermont to Massachusetts. You think Massachusetts isn't going to look at what's going on in Vermont and go, well, they're not following the Trump administration. Why are we doing it? New York, right? Like literally right next to Vermont. Do you think these ideas aren't going to spread? So I think the Trump administration needs to do something about this, like for real. And if I hear any more talk about anti-Semitism, 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 anti-Semitism from the Trump administration, and he doesn't do anything about this, what's going on in Vermont, then I call bullshit on the whole thing. And I don't believe that Trump is actually interested in solving any leftist problems. He's just interested in kissing the ass of Israel. I will be really disappointed if nothing comes of this. Again, Harmeet Dillon now knows about this. Maybe she hasn't seen the post yet because she's a busy lady. And I have no offense against, no shade towards Harmeet. I love Harmeet. I think Harmeet is awesome. I think she's an amazing, perfect pick for that role. But she's very busy. So, but it's like she is going to know about this at some point. And it's like, okay, that's at least one high profile person that can do something about it. Is anything going to get done? I don't know. But if you guys want something to get done, the best advice I can give you, because the only thing people respond to is Twitter, make sure you're sharing this information. If you are on Twitter, make sure you're liking this tweet, replying to this tweet, bookmarking this tweet, retweeting it, quote tweeting it, doing all of those things, replying to other people in the comments for bonus points. Because what that does is it drives the algorithm. And of course, that's all that effing matters on Twitter, because that's all these people care about is how many views on Twitter. I hate these rules, but I'm playing in the game. I'm playing in the game that I have been handed. It's like you don't change the rules of Monopoly just because you don't like them. Okay, I don't like these rules that I have to do this shit on Twitter either. But this is the game that we've been handed, and so we got to play within the rules. So make sure you're sharing the content. The more you share the content, the more likely it is that something is actually going to get done about this. And I'm going to keep covering the state of Vermont, because this is something that I've looked at on and off over the years. But I think there's going to be a lot of school districts in Vermont that are going to be worth revisiting to check in. What training are you doing, Essex Westford? What training are you doing, Southern Vermont School District? What trainings are you doing, Central Vermont School District? We got to check in with the Burlington School District. I'm sure they're as crazy as always. They're about to start a whole social justice summer camp. So that's what's going on in the state of Vermont, guys. Vermont is turning into our little communist incubator, and is going to be this is the canary in the coal mine. This is the tip of the spear. This is where we look to see where are the rest of the schools going. Well, I grew up in Vermont. I love Vermont. There is something about Vermont that you do not have in any other state. I'm sorry. And I've been to almost 40 states. So I feel like I'm in a pretty good position to say this. Like, I love Vermont. I wish Vermont was not communist. And I think that the Trump administration needs to step in and do something about it, because Vermont is a really effing awesome state, except they're raging communists. Anyway, so that happened today. And if you want to find that, it is posted over on the Substack. Again, that is Yeah, don't mock a state with great... There is no better maple syrup in the world than Vermont maple syrup. And I say that as someone who currently lives in New Hampshire, because New Hampshire doesn't have state income tax and Vermont does. There are also other reasons too. It's closer to Boston, better airports. Anyway, but Vermont has great effing maple syrup, and so don't knock a state with great maple syrup, all right? We've got good skiing, all sorts of stuff. Anyway, you can find that article over on my Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. I am doing a membership drive on the Substack, guys, so we're in May. I have 4 months of membership drive to get 400 new subscribers on the Substack. The reason I want 400 new paying subscribers on the Substack is that's going to set me up for the back half of the year to actually do undercover work in person, because there's a way that I pay for all that, and that is with membership through the Substack. So guys, I have broken exclusive story after exclusive story after exclusive story after exclusive story, content that you're not seeing anywhere else. I keep as much as I can free for everyone on the Substack. The way I can do this is when you support my work. So if you are in a position to financially support my work, I ask humbly that you do so. Sign up on the Substack for a membership of $8 a month, $80 a year. And see, we are getting new members. Kansas Mama, I literally saw the clip on Kim Iverson about male supremacy. Lots more stuff coming out. I haven't even begun. Kansas Mama, I haven't even begun to release all the clips I have on the male supremacy thing. I just had some more time-sensitive stuff that needed to get done. All right, so we've got a ton more stuff coming from the male supremacy thing. Stuff that you guys haven't even seen publicly yet. But there's a way you guys can join me for Spy Stream. If you want to go on these infiltrations with me, where we go into live leftist trainings, like the Institute for Research on Male Supremacy, like this Vermont School District one, you can actually do that. That's called Spy Stream. So Spy Stream is when I actually infiltrate a live leftist training, and I bring you guys along with me, and we all watch it together at the same time, live. And it's really cool because you get to see the news unfold live right in front of you. So there were a whole bunch of people watching on this webinar today when Vermont basically started saying that we're not going to comply with the Trump administration. They saw news unfolding in real time. There were a whole bunch of people watching the Institute for Research into Male Supremacism with me. They saw all the insanity in real time. They have access to the archives. This is one of the perks you get when you sign up as a supporter on my Substack, Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. We have a Spy Stream coming up on Monday. It's not announced yet, but it is going to happen. We also have another spy stream coming up next Friday. So we have at least 2 next week. There may be more added because there's an awful lot of stuff going on right now. So make sure you're a member on the Substack, get access to the spy streams, and you'll support the work I'm doing, which I really appreciate. If you ever want to see the events that we have scheduled, you can head over to decodetheleft.com and go to the events calendar. And you'll see here, the Monday one's not up yet because I haven't added the Monday one to the calendar yet. But Monday is going to be, the one on Monday is going to be Monday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. And then on Friday, we have a stream from a major F-off major university talking about gender and sexuality. I also did another spy stream earlier this week where we went inside Stanford University. I just haven't released it yet because I've had too much stuff to do. Too many spy streams. The other thing you're going to find over on the events calendar is we do have a book club coming up. If you would like to read my new book, which is a dystopian fairy tale, it is called The Communist Manifesto, a Revolutionary Fairy Tale. I got a little creative and I actually wrote a dystopian story based on the Communist Manifesto. It follows the communist revolution. Actually, communists are going to love like the first half of this book because it's like everything they want. There's revolution. There's an inspiring young leader. There's the proletariat banding together. There is the monarchy is overthrown and the dictatorship of the proletariat is instilled. Kristen says it's an awesome book. Love the story. If you guys have yet to read the Communist Manifesto, a Revolutionary Fairy Tale, you can get it on Amazon. It comes in paperback and Kindle. There is no audio version yet because I haven't recorded it, but you can get it in paperback and Kindle. And if you want to join me for a book club on May 21st, plenty of time to get the book, read the book. And I tried to tackle serious ideas in this book while doing it around a compelling story. So this book does accurately illustrate what the communist revolution is leading up to the revolution, and then it accurately depicts what is the aftermath of the revolution, what becomes of the society after it. And it does it with a compelling story and compelling characters. This book is appropriate for all ages. So if you have teenagers, I would love teenagers to read this book. I literally want to get this book taught in schools. I'm deadly serious about that. So Salvatore says, just did an annual on Locals Day. Hey, I really appreciate that, Salvatore. So you are able to get access to the spy streams as a member on Locals. I keep this available to the Locals members because a lot of people like Locals. I still have a lot of supporters on Locals. And so I do post all the spy stream information in Locals, so you will be able to access all of it there. There are some other perks. You will also be able to access the supporter Discord. You will not be able to access premium articles on the Substack because that's a Substack only thing. But if you ever want a premium article, just tell me and I'll get you access to it. So basically, yes, you do get all the major perks on Locals as you do on Substack. I just tell people that Substack is my preferred platform, but I love my local supporters. I have a lot of local supporters, and you're going to get access to the community Zoom calls. You're going to get access to the Discord. You're going to get access to the spy streams. So you got all your major stuff. And if you have any, if there's anything else you're looking for, just let me know. We can make that happen. I'll be helpful in that regard. Yes, I still need to send out the founding member autograph copies. I know it's just been so busy lately, which I know you guys understand. You guys know I always have more things on my plate that I'm going to do, but it is on the list, Judy. It is, they're coming your way. I promise. They are coming your way. All right. One more order, actually 2 more orders of business, maybe 3. We have our first Red May tomorrow. So, programming note, Red May is when the revolutionary socialists in Seattle just are so generous with us during the month of May, and they give us so much socialist content. Basically, the socialists in Seattle during the month of May, they create all of this socialist content for us. They call it Red May. They stream a lot of it on the internet. They also do a lot of stuff in person in Seattle. So if you're in Seattle, please get in touch with me. I have one specific event that I want someone to go to in Seattle. There are other events too, but the first Red May live stream is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And I know that's a little bit early. Yes, Philip is going to be there. So we're going to have a Philip sighting in the wild. Philip is the leader of Red May. We love Philip. And so come join us on the channel at 2 p.m. tomorrow. We're going to do a live socialist watch party of the Red May premiere, and it's going to be for a presentation called Capitalism's Grave, Neo-Feudalism and the New Class Struggle. And it's all about where is capitalism headed? Philip is going to love that we're live streaming his content. He loves when we do that. He loves it so much that last time I did it, he threatened to give me a copyright strike. And I said, Philip, you're a communist. You don't believe in private property and you don't believe in intellectual property. So therefore, if you give me a copyright strike, you are going to be showing us that you aren't really a real communist. And Philip never gave me the copyright strike because Philip may be a lot of things, but Philip is a principled communist. And he knew that if he gave me a copyright strike, that would be admitting he believes in private property. So we'll do that tomorrow. That's going to be around 2 p.m. And anything else? What else? Oh, I have to show you guys. Oh, 2 more things. Let's do this one first. Breaking news. I'm launching my own nonprofit. And this is something that was inspired by the Institute for Research into Male Supremacism Infiltration, because the Institute for Research into Male Supremacism conference was literally sponsored by the University of California, Berkeley Center for Right-Wing Studies. And so I'm sitting there for 4 days watching the Institute for Research into Male Supremacism conference, and I'm going, why isn't there a Center of Left-Wing Studies? What's that about? And then I was like, I wonder if I can start that. And then I was like, I wonder how that can work. Can I actually have a nonprofit alongside my for-profit? Because I'm not giving up my for-profit work because I want to have something the government isn't involved in. And I've always been reticent to start a nonprofit because I'm like, you give the government access to what you're doing. They get more oversight. They can get access to your records. They can shut you down really easily if they don't like what you're doing. So I've always been reticent to start a nonprofit. However, I figured out a way to do it in which I have my for-profit stuff over here and nothing really changes of that. But then I can have a nonprofit arm. And this is where I'm going to do my research. This is where I'm going to do the archival work that I always talk about doing that I really do want to do, but is really difficult to do to get funding for and stuff like that. And so just last night, yes, the bookkeeping is key. I have learned this. Yes, I have to keep the money separate and there has to be clean bookkeeping, but that actually won't be that hard. Because last night, I got approval to have a fiscal sponsor. What that means is the fiscal sponsor is the 501c3. The fiscal sponsor takes all the donations. They manage all the financial aspects of it. They work with me to make sure like I'm in compliance and all that stuff. And in return, I get to take tax-deductible donations for the brand new Center for Left-Wing Studies that I am going to launch. And it has the best logo ever. And I am actually really excited about this. And one of the best parts of this is now I get to apply for grants. I didn't have access to grants before. I had to do everything through like grassroots fundraising, and people don't want to donate money to archival projects. I have multiple archival projects to be able to set up, like, I'm calling them kind of like online museums of leftist documents where I just want to do these archives to make sure all this stuff is protected. Because the thing of it is, there is so much leftist content, primary source evidence out there that can be used for research, that can be used for analysis. No one is archiving it. So it's hard to find. It's all over the place. I want to bring all that stuff into one kind of place where literally anyone can go in and access it. Like, I'm going to make all this stuff publicly available. And there's a lot of stuff I want to be able to do in terms of like, yeah, there's also women-led organizations. Exactly. So I want to be able to bring in donations specifically for the Center of Left-Wing Studies. And that's going to fund research into the left. That's going to fund archival work to make sure we're protecting all of these sources that we've been collecting over the years. And what I really want to do is I want to be able to, frankly, pay people like Bott and Reagan who spend so much time doing research. You guys have no idea. Like, Reagan is a research fucking goddess. And right now she's doing it as a volunteer for free. I want to be able to bring in donations to pay her as a contractor, to do this work, to actually research and categorize and do all this stuff that she's wonderful at doing. And it's great because now I have a community of people that are trained in this content. So you guys know how to research this. So I'm actually really excited about this. Like, unironically, I know this is a little bit of a troll on these on UC Berkeley's Center for Right-Wing Studies. It is a little bit of a troll. I think it's funny, but also I am actually taking this seriously. So I have my own nonprofit now. I'm working on getting it all set up. I'm working on this stuff, and I'm really excited about it. And I hope you guys are excited too. Okay, last thing. Last thing. I have to show you guys this. Last thing. See, Vashel, I'm gonna be I might be pinging you for some insight. So this guy, Matt Van Swal, has like over 200,000 followers. You guys have to see this. And then we're going to get into the Candace Jordan Peterson stuff, guys. I promise. We got to do our beer stuff too. He posted this video on Twitter today to own the libs. And so what he said is, not a single person at the anti-Trump, anti-Elon rally in South Carolina could explain to reporters why they were protesting. These people literally have no idea why they're there. What's going on here? Obvious clickbait content. But I want to play you guys this video, and I want to know, can you guys hear why they're protesting? Are these people being very, very clear about why they're actually protesting? Can I just play you guys this clip? Because the fact that someone with over 200,000 Twitter followers, to me, does not have the basic listening comprehension to understand what these people are saying, we might be in more trouble with the right than we think. So let me play you this clip, and I want you guys to put your guesses in the chat about why they're protesting.
There are considerations that are not being taken about people who are needy and unfortunate.
This government is they're hurting people to get more profit for these billionaires and all of these people, but the average person are being hurt by this, and so we want to call attention to that and say that we're not going to stand for it.
Very strong groundswell of support for support against what's going on in our country right now, and hopefully we get it'll turn the tide when we come back to the elections in a couple of years.
There are considerations that are
okay, so that's 3 people. Do you guys know why they're protesting? Is it clear why they're protesting? Let me play the clip one more time just so you can pay extra attention.
There are considerations that are not being taken about people who are needy and unfortunate.
This government is they're hurting people to get more profit for these billionaires and all of these people, but the average person are being hurt by this, and so we want to call attention to that and say that we're not going to stand for it.
Very strong groundswell of support for support against what's going on in our country right now, and hopefully we get it'll turn the tide when we come back to the elections in a couple of years.
So here's what I heard. And I actually, before I tell you what I heard, 1 in the chat if you understand why these people are protesting, 2 in the chat if you agree with Matt Van Moron that it's just impossible to ascertain why these people are protesting. It's just like, it's very, very deeply unclear why they're protesting. Here's what I heard. This lady right here said, Trump's policies are hurting people. The second lady said, Trump's policies are putting profits over people. The third guy said, we're organizing for the next set of elections. That's what they said. This lady says Trump's policies are hurting people. You might not agree with her, but that doesn't mean she knows why she's protesting. Just because you don't agree with her doesn't mean she doesn't know why she's protesting. The second lady, very, very clearly, we hear this all the time. Trump is putting profits over people. That hurts people. Therefore, we don't like it. That's why we're protesting. Again, you might not agree with her, but you should know why she's protesting. And the third guy flat out said, this is about the next election cycle. They're organizing to lead up to the next election cycle. Again, you might not agree with it, but he knows why he's protesting. Did Matt Van Moron even watch the video? I have no idea. It's very, very unclear to me. And it seems as though most of you in the chat too understood quite clearly why they're protesting. Well, I responded to this. Let's see if my reply comes up anywhere. My reply really should be more overt. I don't know why my reply isn't. That's interesting. Why are my replies under all these people? I wonder, why are my replies showing up? Did he hide it? Wouldn't that be funny? Let me go into my actual Twitter page and I will show you my reply. I'll have to scroll down a little bit. No, not what I wanted. No, I don't want to try out hashtags. No, I don't. Nope, not in the least little bit. Let me just scroll down to find my reply. Apologies, this will just take a sec. Because I want you guys to see this. I want you guys to see the reaction to conservatives when you try to explain to them why these people are protesting. Because this is actually what really floored me. I expect clickbait artists like Matt Van Moron to like not know what's going on. Okay, should be. Why isn't it showing it? Huh. It's not showing my reply. Oh, here it is. Oh, wait, no, it's still not showing it. Well, even on here, look at this. I must disagree. Trump's policies are not, it's like conservatives are confused. And if you saw my, yeah, it got buried. What the hell happened to my reply on his tweet? Actually, you know what? I probably can find it by going into one of the lower replies. Hang on. Not that one. Not that one. That's another retarded reply. Okay. Here it is. This is my reply to him. I said, bro, I'm going to break this down for you. Here's why they're protesting. 1, Trump's policies are hurting people in need. 2, Trump is putting profits over people. 3, they're organizing for the next election. That they said all of this. It was very, very clear. Why aren't you listening? The responses that I got from conservatives are, that's not true. Or they think I'm a Democrat. Or they're not saying that. All I heard was blah, blah, blah. None of that is true. I don't understand what's going on. You have TD. This is all from conservatives who are not able. These people are literally not able to watch a very... Look, doctor, you lost all your credibility. Me. That's just word salad. It's Trump derangement syndrome. You can't tell us what to do. This is conservatives, guys. Listen. I know. Look, this person's like, you're a hypocrite and a liar and a pedophile and you're in a death cult. Listen. People don't understand why I rag on conservatives all the time, because the people that watch me, if you're a conservative that's watching me, you're probably smarter than most conservatives that I encounter. But I really want people to see, this is the caliber of people that I encounter on like a regular effing basis. It's like, they're not capable of understanding basic words coming out of people's mouths. They're not capable of understanding that there's a difference between whether or not you agree with someone and does that person know why they're protesting? Like, I don't know how these people operate in the world. How do these people even exist in polite society? I'm really kind of flabbergasted. How are these people able to hold down jobs? How are these people able to like have conversations with people in the real world? Like, is it just that they're all stupid and they're all communicating in a special language of stupid that I don't understand? Because again, it's like, this was really kind of like a wake-up call for me, because I'm like, maybe I've just overestimated the intelligence level of the right, like to a severe degree, to a degree that I never thought was possible, because I know that, you know, it's been a challenge to teach people on the right what the left means when they say things. And it's like, maybe you know what, guys, we set the bar too high. We set the bar too high. I really thought that if we could just get conservatives to acknowledge the fact that the left wants to abolish capitalism and that everything the left wants to do is about abolishing capitalism, we would be able to actually maybe turn things around and have a productive conversation. Instead, Fender Bean just summed it up perfectly. Matt Van Moron says, "What the hell is even this video, bro?" I then say, here's exactly what this video is. And by the way, I'm doing it with anti-communist literally in my Twitter handle. So it's not as though these people have any excuse to know that I'm not a leftist. I am more right-leaning than most of the people in the replies. So I calmly and realistically explain what it is. And conservatives are like, you are a communist with TDS, and you're a hypocrite, and you're a cult, and you're a liar, and you're wrong, and I disagree. Are they dumber than I ever thought they could be? Is this the reality that we're in? You know, there's a reason I curate my audience on the internet, and it's because I don't want to interact with these people. Like, stupid people will suck the life force out of you, and they will make everything worse. But, yeah. This is pretty shocking to me, the responses to this. And if they can't understand what people are saying in this video, there is no hope for these people ever understanding the left. So I just thought I'd show that to you guys so that you could appreciate that. Hey, we're going to be getting into Candace Owens and Jordan Peterson in a second. I know we've got some people here. They're like, Karlyn, shut the fuck up. We want to watch Candace Owens and Jordan Peterson. Okay. Relax. We're going to do that. All right. But first, I need a beer because, listen, dealing with that level of stupidity on Twitter, can you blame me for needing a beer? It's happy hour. It's Friday. I need a beer. Does anyone else need a beer? I'm going to get my beer. Hang on. This is our happy hour tradition. Hang on. What I do on Fridays is I go to the craft beer store. I buy 4 craft beers. I'm not going to drink all these beers on the stream. That would make me very, 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 very drunk. But you guys get to vote on which beer I drink first. And I do have, there are some really interesting flavors. This is the week of interesting flavors when it comes to beer, okay? So I'm just going to show you guys what I got, and you're going to vote. The first beer, and I don't know how many craft beer drinkers there are among us, but obviously if you're not a craft beer drinker, you just haven't found the right craft beer yet, because craft beer is amazing. Our first beer is from Concord Brewing Company in the lovely, bustling metropolis of New Hampshire, New Hampshire state capital. And it is a jalapeno cream ale. And so the description on this light and lively cream ale was originally crafted to celebrate Cinco de Mayo. Vienna and biscuit malts provide a smooth backbone that is highlighted by jalapeno peppers. Sometimes I like jalapeno beer. Sometimes I hate jalapeno beer. But we're going to try this one today, and we're going to see how that goes. That is option number 1. Option number 2. I mean, what a pretty can. How pretty is this label? I've never heard of a beer of this flavor. I've never had a beer that's kiwi. A kiwi white ale. And I like white ale too. I don't drink it that often, but I do like white ale. Kiwi white ale. And this is from, where is this from? Brewery and Tap Room. Is that what it's called? Mighty Squirrel Brewing Company in Massachusetts. So it's a communist beer. That's okay. Crafted with a refreshing blend of kiwi, coriander, and orange peel, our Kiwi White reimagines the classic Belgian beer. Bright citrus notes meet the vibrant tartness and natural sweetness of kiwi, delivering a crisp, smooth, and uniquely flavorful experience. That is our Kiwi White Ale. That is option number 2. I love kiwi. I think kiwi's great. Option number 3 is, honestly, I wasn't sure about this one, but I was going along with the interesting flavors theme. And also a very pretty can. Like, very minimal. I like minimal. This is it's from Vermont. Oh, this is a Vermont beer. St. Albans, Vermont. So this is 10 Ben's beer, another communist beer, and this is a lime hibiscus lager. So it should be really light, but with flavors of lime and hibiscus. I don't know how that's going to work, but we're going to try it out. Lime and hibiscus. The last one is Rising Tide Brewery from where are you from? Maine. Look at that. I've got New Hampshire. I've got Massachusetts. I've got Vermont. And I've got Maine as our last beer. This worked out pretty well. This is from Rising Tide Brewery, and I'm actually really excited about this one. Smoked wheat ale. Has anyone in the chat ever had a smoked beer before? I very rarely drink smoked beer. It does actually taste like smoke. It's like if you smoked meat, except it's in a beer. But on the occasions where I have had smoked beer, I do tend to like them an awful lot. So this will actually taste like smoke, and hopefully it'll be good. And it is a smoked wheat ale, and they don't have any description on it. Oh, they do. Historic Polish 100% oak smoked wheat ale inspired for this collaboration. So cheers. All right, guys. Poll in the chat. You guys get to vote on which one I drink first. Am I drinking the jalapeno one first? Am I drinking the kiwi one first? Am I drinking the hibiscus lime? Or am I drinking the smoked wheat ale? Let me know in the chat while you guys are doing that. I'm going to get our sound set up for our Candace dragging Jordan Peterson episode. I want to thank everyone for joining me on this glorious Friday. As a reminder, I do stream Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. Tomorrow, we will be doing Socialism Saturday at 6 p.m. We will also be doing Socialism Live at 2 p.m. earlier in the day. So it's going to be a double socialism kind of day tomorrow. Because that's what we do. That's what we do. When the socialists are going live on the internet, we stalk the socialists going live on the internet. Let me see what you guys are voting for. All right, last chance. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Do I drink mead? Every once in a while, I do like a good mead. I like apple mead quite a bit. Some meads I find to be too alcoholic, but it's like, there are some really good like apple pie meads that are just like fall kind of flavored meads I think are really good. And it is the jalapeno with the kiwi coming in a close second. All right, so we'll drink the jalapeno beer. Hang on. Let me pour it. Maybe it'll be green. Do you guys think it'll be green? Let's see. If you are drinking something fun in the chat for happy hour, let us know. Oh, it is kind of green. Oh shit, it does have, it's got like a green tint to it. All right. Cheers, everyone. Happy Friday. Let's see. I can smell the jalapeno. Oh my gosh. Oh, they put the seeds in this one. That's hot. Oh shit. Good thing I like jalapeno. You're drinking an angry... You know, I almost got cider today. They actually had a cherry pie cider. Sometimes I go through a cider mood. Quick question. Have you caught socialists studying you like they... Well, actually, so the Institute for Male Supremacism Conference was literally all socialists studying us. That was the theme. They go undercover at right-wing events. They study right-wing subcultures. There are probably hundreds, if not into the thousands of people on the left that are studying us. The problem is we don't have anyone studying them. I'm like one of the only people that does this, okay? I'm one of like 3 people on the internet that I know of that do this, and I do it more than anyone. So, yeah, they study us. They pick us apart. They're wrong with a lot of their conclusions, but they have the Institute for Research into Male Supremacism is funded by the Center for Right-Wing Studies at Berkeley. They have whole centers dedicated to studying us. Me specifically, no, they're more annoyed by me. They know about me. They tell people to block me all the time. If they preemptively ban me from their events. So they are very well aware of me. but like I don't think they study me. Anyway, let's dig in. Okay, the first thing we're going to watch 2 Candace Owens videos today, guys. We're going to start with this one she did about Jordan Peterson 8 days ago. And then we're going to do this everyone who disagrees with me is a psychopath one, because I want to see that. So let's just dig in. Let's have a fun time. Fun Friday. Appreciate everyone being here. Let's get our drama on.
All right, you guys, happy Wednesday. Just 3 episodes left. So let's jump right in here. What do I have for you guys today? Dr. Jordan.
Nope.
Once again, he is setting the internet aflame by, I would just kind of sum this up as refusing to retire, generally just speaking. He just keeps saying stuff now. He won't just stop saying stuff. And now it's just gone too far because you're not allowed to just do that without being.
That's funny. Candace like opens up like maybe he should just retire. Do you think this will have impact on the credibility of doctorate degrees? Nope. None at all. None at all. Sadly.
Called out. And his new shtick is apparently diagnosing people who disagree with him. We're all just a bunch of political psychopaths, guys. That's what it is if you disagree with people who have certain expertise. Also, we've got an update for you guys in the Shannon Sharp case. His Jane Doe is dropping more audio clips. And some of you were wondering,
you study me
if he's not
again?
guilty, Candace, why did he offer to pay her out $10 million? Well, I'm going to tell you why he offered to pay her out $10 million. Lastly, I completely failed you guys. I apologize. I so failed you because I somehow missed Katy Perry's post-interview that she gave when the Blue Origin flight touched back down onto Earth, and it is indeed exceptional and worthy of review. So let's jump right back in. Welcome back to Candace.
Can I just say, I kind of love that Candace Owens has just built an entire show around whatever she wants to complain about on the internet. Like, I kind of love that she jumps around and she does like this pop culture stuff and like, oh, Katy Perry's a psycho and oh, Jordan Peterson should just retire. And let's talk about how Brigitte Macron is a man. It is actually just like, it's kind of like a nice, refreshing, eclectic mix of content that she's got going. And I think it's good. I mean, she actually does seem happy. She seems much happier now than she did at the Daily Wire. I know. She's a Taurus. I know.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Pope is still above ground. He is sitting in a casket being visited by mourners. We haven't even entered the official period of mourning yet because his funeral has not yet taken place. And yet Jordan Peterson is showing his ass right now over Christ is King. Why? Why is the period of Lent to Easter always like this every year? This is why we cannot have nice things. Jordan Peterson is the reason why we can't have nice things. I want you to know that. Today, by the way, is the Feast of St. George, and feast we shall on Dr. Jordan Peterson. I'm kidding, obviously, or kind of kidding, not really kidding, but I was admittedly early, you will recall, to recognizing that there were just some issues that were presenting regarding Dr. Jordan Peterson. And the issue that I am referring to is that there seemed to be this apparent delta between who he tells us we should be in the form of his lectures and his books and who he actually is. Okay, this is known as the those who can't teach or those who can't do, rather, teach doctrine, right? So you can't do it yourselves in your life, but you constantly tell people what they should be doing.
Listen, man, admittedly, and I say this as someone who literally has a PhD in psychology, and I think that everyday therapists will back me up on this as well. People study psychology because they're broken people and they want to understand their own brokenness and they want to understand the brokenness of other people. But like, people who study psychology are crazy. And again, I'm being very self-aware here. I had a really fucked up childhood, okay? Like I'm not going to talk about it, but like I had to work out some of my own issues, all right? I had to work out some of my own issues of things that happened to me in the workplace. And so I became a psychologist and I studied psychology. And I like to think that I do a pretty good job of like reining in the crazy, but there are a lot of fucking crazy people who study psychology. And if you are a psychologist and you cannot admit that there are crazy people who study psychology, then you are probably part of the problem. So I like to think I'm one of the good ones. I do understand how people think. I do occasionally use that information to really fuck with people and trigger them. I do use that information in order to screw with people that I don't like on the internet. But I also at least have some level of self-awareness. Would I recommend pursuing a doctorate in psychology? Depends on what you want to do. I had to. I wanted to be I wanted to do corporate training. I wanted to be an organizational psychologist, and I was a highly effective organizational psychologist. And the fact that honestly, the fact that I am an organizational psychologist is why I'm so good at analyzing the left, because basically I'm applying industrial organizational psychology, which is my specialty, to analyzing social systems. So the reason I'm so effective at what I do with the left is because I have the psychology background. It's because I was a practicing organizational psychologist working with companies all over the country, doing trainings all over the place. I know how to analyze groups. I know how to analyze environments. And so for me, yeah, I'm thrilled with doing it. I wouldn't change a thing. Maybe I change a couple things here and there, but like, I wouldn't take it back. I get to say people have to call me doctor if I get really pissed off at them, which people don't really like. Imagine that. But like, not everyone needs a PhD in psychology. Not everyone needs that experience. And so if you want to be a psychologist, if you want to help people, it's a noble thing to do. But if you're just interested in psychology, you can learn about psychology in any number of ways without having to do a doctorate in it.
In their lives, right? The things that you can't accomplish in your own life. And an example of that would be
all right, this is the last question. I'm going to let this play, but he's asking good questions. What age would you say is too old for a doctorate? I mean, I started my doctorate. I graduated from undergrad when I was 21. I graduated with my MBA when I was 27. I started my doctorate around 28, I think, 27 or 28. And so are you too old to start? No, you're not too old. No, there are a lot of people that are older than you that start doctorates when, if you want to do something, go and do it. Never allow your age, even if you were 39, I would say if you want to get a PhD in psychology, go do it. It's a self-actualization exercise. There's no age limit on these things. So if you want to do it, if you're committed to it, go do it. Who cares how old you are?
His smash book, the one that catapulted him into an international celebrity, 12 Rules of Life. And this book was about order. He was telling people how to order their lives in the chaotic world that we are in. And it did a lot of good for young men. There's no question about that. I think people should forever buy his book because what they took out of it was very meaningful. And it was at a time when it wasn't fun to be a man at all, right? I mean, I feel like they were constantly getting bashed over the head because we were in this phase of toxic femininity. You know, it was the Me Too movement. Men are terrible, toxic masculinity. And then you had people that rose to the surface and said to men basic things that did have a lot of meaning, like clean your room, right? Like that was one of the big things. Jordan Peterson was walk like a lobster and also clean your room. And that was for good reason. Take a listen to him.
What I've recommended to people is clean up your room. That's a good start. Organize your local landscape. Schedule your time. Start taking control of yourself. See if you can stop saying things you know to be lies. That's not the same as telling the truth. You don't get to do that to begin with because you're not good enough at it to even attempt it in some sense.
Wow.
But everyone can stop saying things they know to be falsehoods.
Agreed.
That'd
Totally
be good advice,
that.
Jordan, for you.
But you know
right
what?
Now.
His own house, his own office didn't look so tidy when he did various interviews from home. For example, this video where he was interviewing someone named Aaron Meyer, who he described.
Listen, my office is messy. Can I tell you? I have an aversion to things being too put together and too put away. This is one of the traumas my mother inflicted on me. My mother was a clean freak, and so everything had to be clean and orderly at all times. And I think I massively rebelled against that. So what I'm saying is, I'm not a prude about mess. I'm really not. Like my husband and I, we're our house is fine, but like things are out of order, okay? And like I know where everything is. It's like one of those situations where like I won't be able to find any of my clothes if they're all hung up in the closet. But if they're in piles in various locations, I know where they fucking are, okay? So I'm not a prude to mess, but that's fucking gross. He's got food on the counter. He's got things that are half opened. It's like, that's ridiculous. He looks like he has, like, what is wrong with him?
As a reasonable trans person back in 2016, that's Jordan Peterson's office. That doesn't look like a tidy room, whatever. That's not a big deal. I'm just pointing out
organized
little
chaos.
cracks
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
mirror that began to appear. There's rule number 8, like he just said, tell the truth or at least don't lie. Rule number 10, be precise in your speech. But does he actually embody any of that himself? As I had mentioned in that previous episode, everything was all very well and good until people began to have questions about Jordan's behavior and some of the confusing narratives which were used to justify or to simply excuse his behavior. There was always an excuse, right? And most notorious among them, obviously, he will go down in history remembered for apple cider gate. Now, if you are not a Jordan Peterson fan,
I don't know what this
maybe
is.
you're a woman, you never really followed his stuff. Of course, you know his name. Apple cider gate was something that happened on Joe Rogan's podcast. And the background of that, before he went on Joe Rogan's podcast, he was having sort of these series of debates with Sam Harris. They were matched up to debate God and truth and atheism, which in and of itself was quite confusing because, well, Jordan Peterson, despite the fact that he speaks about God a lot, has never declared himself to be a Christian. So he's debating an atheist, but is he an atheist? He's debating truth. What does he actually believe? And he has definitely, at least I would say, elected himself as an academic leader
Candace's nails. They're
of
pretty
faith.
blue.
And that, again, can register as quite confusing because we don't know what he believes when it comes to religion. But Jordan, like a true academic that he is, does not like being challenged in any capacity. He considers himself to be an expert. And I'll give you an example of that, of him losing it on the audience because they applauded something that Sam Harris said back in 2018 when he pressed him on the topic of his own religion. Take a listen.
What I fear about the way you talk about religion is that at the end of all these conversations, I'm still not sure what you believe on that point, frankly. And if I'm not sure, no one out there is.
Well, I don't know why you would expect to be sure about what someone believes. How do you think that any one of you are capable of fully articulating what you believe? You certainly aren't. You are not. That's completely ridiculous. You're not transparent to yourself by any stretch of the imagination.
What?
You act out all sorts of things that you can't articulate.
But how about a...
Just for the record, I'm actually very clear on what I believe. I've been studying spirituality for 20 years. I've had teachers all over the world. I am extremely clear on what I believe. I can articulate what I believe. Now, a lot of people will think I'm crazy, and that's fine. You're allowed to think I'm crazy because I believe in crazy things, and probably you do too. We all have our crazy shit that we believe when it comes to religion and spirituality. But to say that you can't be clear on what you believe, Jordan, please.
How about a best guess? Yeah.
You know, if you look, let's go all cognitive neuroscience on this, shall we? 99% of your processing is unconscious. You're not capable of articulating yourselves.
Well,
if you were, you'd be omniscient. Okay. Don't give me any nonsense about that.
Wow.
All right. Okay. Don't give him any nonsense about that. Don't ask him to clarify what he believes in the topic of religion while he's debating the topic. At any rate, after a series of these appearances and discussions with Sam Harris, Jordan went on to Joe Rogan and kind of halfway explained that he hadn't been feeling well in some other discussions where they were kind of going round and round and he was unable to give a basic definition of what truth was. And the reason that he gave to the public was that he was going through an unusual medical episode, which indeed involved apple cider. Take a listen.
One of the things that both Michaela and I noticed was that when we restricted our diet and then ate something we weren't supposed to, the reaction to eating what we weren't supposed to was absolutely catastrophic.
What did you do? What did you switch to? Or what did you eat rather?
Well, the worst response, I think we're allergic to, or allergic, whatever the hell this is, having an inflammatory response to something called sulfites. And we had some apple cider that had sulfites in it. And that was really not good. Like, I was done for a month. That was the first time I talked to Sam Harris.
You were done for a month.
Oh yeah, it took me out for a month.
That doesn't even make sense. Anyone who has ever had food poisoning knows that, like, food poisoning sucks. There is like nothing worse than food poisoning. You feel like you're going to die. But the food poisoning goes away. It goes away relatively quickly. Like, you go like go take some fucking sleeping pills and knock yourself out for 24 hours and you're going to wake up and you're going to feel okay. All right? Like, you're telling me that apple cider fucked him up for a month? Bullshit.
It's awful.
Really?
Yeah. So I would say,
so
look,
so this is right before this whole truth conversation with Sam Harris that got stuck in the mud. During.
So
I
think the day I talked to Sam was like the worst day of my life. Not because of talking to Sam, but it was
just physical.
Oh Jesus, I was so dead. But I didn't want to not do it.
Apple cider. Like, what was it doing?
In it.
What was it doing to you?
Oh, it produced an overwhelming sense.
And I want to say this too. How long ago was this episode of Joe Rogan? This is why we need to call influencers on their bullshit much earlier than people are inclined to. I always feel like I'm one of the earliest people out there going, that person's full of shit. That person's full of shit. Why are you still listening to this person? This person said this crazy ass thing on Joe Rogan 2 months ago. And probably that means they're saying other crazy things as well. Because if they're lying about this thing, they're also lying about these other things over here. So can we just start calling influencers on their bullshit like much earlier than people are inclined to? Because this was years ago. People knew Jordan Peterson was losing his shit years ago. And like, people just don't want to admit it because everyone loved his first book and he helped a lot of people. Okay, fine. You can help a lot of people and still lose your fucking mind. James Lindsay is one of those people. By the way, do you guys want updated James Lindsay dirt? Do you guys want James Lindsay dirt? I really should not be saying this on the internet, but if you guys want the James Lindsay dirt, I'm going to tell you top secret, undercover James Lindsay dirt that I don't think anyone else knows about. Because I might still be chatting with James Lindsay's stepdaughter. Maybe every once in a while. And so, do you guys remember when James was publicly shitting on his 28-year-old stepdaughter and then told everyone on the internet that I was grooming his 28-year-old stepdaughter because she got caught up in an internet firestorm that she didn't understand. And I sent her a DM saying, hey, it's going to be okay. Just ignore all the bullshit. It's going to be fine. I was actually trying to do the right thing. And then James Lindsay's stepdaughter and I started talking. And it turns out that James Lindsay's stepdaughter was estranged from James because James went no contact with her. Well, professing that he was this family values person all over the internet. Also remember that James Lindsay's stepdaughter revealed that James is in an open marriage with his wife because James wants to go around to all these Moms for Liberty event and fuck the Moms for Liberty. And so James has like these Moms for Liberty MILF girlfriends all over the fucking country because he's in an open relationship with his wife. And James Lindsay's stepdaughter spilled the tea on all that. She spilled that publicly. She didn't spill that to me. I talked to her after. So James was publicly shitting on his stepdaughter and she got really pissed off about it, as she should have. And he kept saying, Karlyn's grooming my stepdaughter. Karlyn's grooming my stepdaughter. Karlyn's grooming my stepdaughter. Which of course wasn't true. The woman's 28 years old. I can't groom anything. Well, apparently James's stepdaughter reached out to James after all that. And she said to him, James, you're my stepfather. I love you. I want to have you in my life. I don't want to go no contact with you. And James responded to her saying, you need to stop fucking talking to Karlyn and you cost me $500,000 and fuck you. I swear to God. I swear to God. I was like, Can you imagine pretending to be this good Christian family man, family values, and you've blown up your fucking relationship with your stepdaughter publicly on the internet through your actions? I didn't do shit. I literally didn't do shit. And then the stepdaughter still loves you so much that she reaches out to you, say, can we just put let bygones be bygones? Can we have a relationship again? Can we be in each other's lives again? Making a sincere attempt. And he says, fuck you. Don't fucking talk to Karlyn anymore. You cost me $500,000, which I don't even believe that's true, by the way. How the fuck did his stepdaughter cost him $500,000? James, if James got costed $500,000 for anything, it's because of his public behavior. So don't tell me James Lindsay is a family values good Christian man or whatever he's pretending to be right now. Because when his own stepdaughter tried to repair their relationship, James told her to fuck off because money and because of me. So Mark's Labs over on Rumble, thank you for the $5. In your intro, their song is addictive, like jam out in your car addictive. The lyrics are, is this the end? Is this the end? Can you share the band and the song name? So the song is called Burning in Dystopia. I forget the name right now, but people have been asking me for this song. I'm going to put the song up on my YouTube channel at some point. It's just a song I got a license for that I thought was good. So I'll make sure to put that on the YouTube channel at some point. All right, let's continue. James gossip break over.
Of impending doom. And I seriously been overwhelming. Like, there's no way I could have lived like that if that would have lasted for. See, Michaela knew by that point that it would probably only last a month, and I was like,
a month.
Yeah,
from
a month.
Cider.
Oh, I didn't sleep that month. I didn't sleep for 25 days. I didn't sleep at all. I didn't sleep at all for 25 days.
How is that possible?
I'll tell you how it's possible. You lay in bed, frozen in something approximating terror for 8 hours, and then you get up.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, not
and
good.
This is from cider. From cider.
That's what we thought. Yeah.
I'll admit I'm not an expert. I just know that apple cider is just an apple. It's just an apple being juiced, and they don't add anything to it. It's just an apple. And I have never, prior to that discussion, heard of that sort of a reaction. Now, this conversation, to be clear, took place in 2018. Okay. And then shortly thereafter, the official storyline got even more confusing for people that were fans of Jordan Peterson, and I counted myself among them. Officially, the public was told that Jordan had entered various rehabs from Toronto to New York to Russia to treat benzo addiction. That's what we were told by the press, the New York Post, the New York Times. And then we were told from his daughter, Michaela, that it was not an addiction, but it was a dependency that came from a food diet that went awry. Okay.
What?
I'm going to read this next portion directly because it's legitimately that confusing, and I don't want to face allegations that I'm not understanding things because I'm not an expert. This is directly from an article in the New York Times. They spoke directly with the Peterson family, and then this was widely reported. It reads, quote, Michaela, 28, her Russian husband, and Peterson began the diet in 2016, but all three had a violent sodium metabisulfite response. She said it was, quote, really awful, but it hit him the hardest, Michaela told the Times. He couldn't stand up without blacking out. He had this impending sense of doom. He wasn't sleeping. Peterson.
If he couldn't stand up without blacking out, what the fuck do you think blacking out is? How is he not sleeping if he can't stand up without blacking out? If Jordan Peterson wanted to go to sleep, all he would have to do is stand the fuck up and make sure someone is there to push him onto the bed.
Has previously claimed that he didn't sleep for 25 days during this time, but the longest period of human sleep deprivation that's ever been recorded is only 11 days. Paper notes. He was prescribed a low dose of antidepressants, which helped him recover. But the dosage was increased after Peterson sunk into a depression following his wife Tammy's cancer diagnosis. Quote, and things just fell apart insanely with Tammy. Every day was life and death in the crisis for 5 months. Peterson told the paper. The doctors said, well, she's contracted this cancer that is so rare. There's virtually no literature on it. And the 1 year fatality rate is 100%. So endless nights sleeping on the floor in the emergency and continual surgical complications. And then there's an ellipsis and says, so I took benzodiazepines. Okay, that is the full quotation. I'm reading it exactly. We then learned that Tammy recovered from complications with a kidney surgery, but Peterson's drug dependency worsened. Michaela says, quote, Dad started getting super weird. It manifested as extreme anxiety and suicidality. Michaela, who the Times reports, seems to have assumed full charge of his affairs.
Wait. Fender Bean is on the case. Fender Bean says, wait a minute. I saw a video of Jordan Peterson explaining the benzo dependency. He said he started the diet after that. It was on Daily Wire's app. Oh, Jordan Peterson lied? He lied to the public about his crazy shit? You don't say. You don't say.
Okay, that's a lot to work through. There's anxiety medicine, there's antidepressant medicine, there's meat and greens and apple cider, which began it all. And I'm not kidding when I say I am not an expert, so I legitimately do not understand it at all, okay? With Peterson, there seems to be, ironically, in every situation that I have found, and I think that many of the young men who no longer follow him have found, never any accountability, always just something that only the experts can understand.
Yep.
And what I understand as a non-expert is addiction is an affliction that is a part of almost every single person's life that I know.
Yep.
I come from a family and I grew up in a family with addicts. That is as a part of my growing up story, okay? These addicts don't have glossy degrees. They don't have extensive vocabularies. They don't have estates. So they'll forever just be known as addicts, not dependents, not from food, whatever it is. They're not flying to Russia. They are just addicts. And what I can say is that if you're wondering why, this is a moment, why there are so many non-experts that are registering to people as more truthful than those that are from the upper echelon of society. Take a look no further than Theo Von. Okay, Theo Von, I'm just going to do the totally opposite description in the press, went and sat across from President Trump and discussed his past addictions like this. Take a listen.
How did you get addicted? How did?
No, I would just do cocaine. That was really, yeah. So not just, yeah.
That's down and dirty, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it was, yeah.
But you don't anymore?
No, I don't do it anymore, man. And I'm not doing it.
Is it too much? Too much to handle?
Some of the stuff started to get a real rattle in it too. I don't know where we were even getting it from in this country, but yeah, it started to make me feel like I was a mechanic or something.
So the thing you go back to then is alcohol for the most part.
Right. Yeah. But what I want probably is cocaine, but I know that if I have a drink, then it'll like be like, okay, well, I had a drink, then I can do this.
Is cocaine a stronger
oh yeah.
up?
Yeah. Cocaine.
So you're way up with cocaine more than anything else you can think of.
Cocaine will turn you into a damn owl, homie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I love this.
You'll be out on your own porch, you know.
I didn't know about this.
You'll be your own street lamp. You're freaking.
And is that a good feeling? Well,
no,
it's a miserable feeling.
But you do it anyway, just like the guy you're saying with the scotch.
He just told President Trump that if he did cocaine, he would be his own street lamp, his own owl. Still my favorite interview that President Trump has ever given, because it was just so relatable. And it just feels good to hear something that sounds relatable. And also it
wasn't relatable. I've never done coke, but it was authentic. It was fucking real. And it's like one of the things that drives me crazy about the internet is so many people just try to be these fake, they put on these facades of I am holier than thou, and I never do anything that anyone could have a problem with, and I have all the right opinions, and I agree with all the right people, and I'm like, shut the fuck up. Do you guys know how much shit I've taken for saying I've done ayahuasca? I haven't done ayahuasca in years. I actually really want to do an ayahuasca ceremony this year, but I haven't done ayahuasca in years, but I have done it. I've done it in Peru. I've done it in Sedona. I've done many ceremonies. I've talked about that experience. I've done mushrooms. I've done DMT. I've done all these things. And I love talking about these things. So I'm these are some of the most erasing revelatory experiences in my life. I think everyone should do this stuff at least once. And it's I get so much shit. Oh my word, you did ayahuasca. Clutch your pearls. Shut the fuck up. And it's listen, I know that not everyone approves of this stuff, but seeing someone at least have an authentic conversation about it, it's at least that's real, you know? It's not fraudulent. It's not inauthentic. It's not putting up this false pretense for image and brand.
rooting for people always, especially if you grew up like me, that overcome addiction. It's great to see Theo Von so clear-eyed and discussing that and maintaining a sense of humor. Anyways, just showing you that contrast, because I think it so clearly represents what's happening right now as we're starting to see this delta of opinions of people who are very angry and frustrated that people who can laugh like Joe Rogan and Dave Smith and Theo Von are being given a platform, while people who deem themselves experts and can tell us what's happening psychiatrically and what's happening due to reports are just annoying. I'm being honest, like literally, it's just so annoying to be preached at by these people as if like their experiences are somehow more valid, or like we can't comprehend their experiences. Like there's just such a gap between people like Theo Von and the way that they live their lives without these fancy degrees. That's what it is. That's what we're really getting to the heart of. What was Jordan Peterson's rule number 6? Well, it was set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world.
It's not even that.
I would say
it's not even the fancy degrees thing. I know people who have fancy degrees. I know other people who have PhDs. Like the people that I know that I'm friends with that have fancy degrees, they're real fucking people. There are actually real people that get advanced degrees because they're interested in a topic or they want to do something professionally or anything other than that. But like, it's not a matter of like, do you have a fancy degree or don't you? It's a matter of like, do you shit on ordinary people? And maybe this is because I grew up in a rural Vermont town and my family was not like a well-to-do family at all. I've always preferred being around like average people, just like normal fucking people. Like I was actually really uncomfortable in 2020 when I was around all these like influencers and all these like famous people. I was so uncomfortable because none of them were real. You couldn't have a real conversation with any of them. And it was just all about pretense and brand and connections and networking. And I'm doing this for you. You're doing, it's like, my God, shut up. Honestly. And so I think like, just because you have a fancy degree doesn't mean you can't relate to normal people. But I think that sometimes when people get the fancy degree, they're like, oh, I'm a doctor now, baby. And it's like, they want to shit on people who don't have the fancy degree. Well, I'm sorry. Like, that's not, I went to school for a really long piece of time, a really long stretch of time. And I have a very expensive piece of paper that tells me that I read a lot of research and I wrote a lot of papers, and I wrote one really big paper called a dissertation, and I took a comprehensive exam and I had to present and defend my dissertation and all that stuff. That's literally all it means. I read a lot of fucking research. I did a big research project. I wrote a fuck off long paper, and they gave me a really expensive degree. But it doesn't mean I'm better than anyone else. It doesn't mean I know more than anyone else. I know a lot about a very, very, very specific topic. But it's the people that make this about everything. Like, I am up here and you are down here because I have a PhD. Like, fuck you. I don't want to hang out with those people either.
That is not a rule that he has attempted to follow. Because all he does for people who are engaged on X, and don't get me wrong, people forever have boomers that support him. I'm not saying all, because some of them are very much on X and know what's going on, but people that are not like on social media accounts and don't see the various meltdowns and the way he speaks to people really think that Jordan Peterson is plugged in and that he's well put together. But actually the inability to withstand any sort of pushback or criticism without completely losing it on people should be Jordan Peterson's Twitter bio. Mr. Clean Up Your Room needs to kind of clean up his Twitter feed. And that was kind of one of the things that I was pointing out. He was calling people psychopathic rats when he got angry.
Yeah, true.
He talks about, being calm in moments of chaos. The second October 7th happened, he was on Twitter and he tweeted to Netanyahu, give him hell, enough is enough, and people just began looking at him differently, going, everything that you said in your book, you do not embody, not even on your X feed where you can execute some control. You're not live. You know what I mean? You could just put down the phone. And I obviously have been on the receiving end of this, had nothing but a fine relationship with Jordan Peterson. I opened for him years ago, actually, on his 12 Rules tour. And he called me a pharisaical pretender. This is a real tweet because I said Christ is king. This is the one that Christ is king has broken so many people's brains. It's amazing. It's incredible why the declaration that Christ is king has broken so many people's brains. I wasn't even speaking to him. I was speaking to somebody else. And I said, thank you for re-upping this most crucial conversation about Christ is king almost exactly a year later. And once again, during the season of Lent, after a year of thoughtfulness, I want you to know that I will never stop declaring it. Is anything about that tweet? Keep that back up. Anything about me saying that make you think that someone should be jumping in and calling you a pharisaical pretender? Well, that's what Dr. Jordan Peterson does on X. This is how he behaves on X. Okay, there's just long threads of him writing
This is what they all do.
like literally.
This is what James Lindsay does too. James Lindsay is calling every fucking person the woke right, the woke right, the woke right, the woke right, the woke right. If you look at James Lindsay the wrong way, you're the woke right. If you disagree with anything James Lindsay says, you're the woke right. And it's like, bro, I have video evidence of what's going on. Like, I can prove you wrong, not even trying that hard. Peterson became someone who is terminally online. Listen, okay, I'm going to give out some sage advice right now. Twitter addiction is real, and it will drive you insane. I have seen so many people driven insane by that platform, and I think it is specifically Twitter or X or whatever. Like, I think it is. It's like there is something about Twitter that keeps you in an algorithm that you only hear from people who either really hate you or really like you, and you don't get outside that algorithm. And I really think it drives people mad. So don't get addicted to Twitter, kids. Take breaks. It's okay. It's not real.
It reads like poetry, but he's calling people names, ad hominem attacks. He writes, Candace Owens, a true pharisaical pretender. Again, this is a guy who has not asserted that Christ is anything in his life. He is not baptized, and he gets angry when people push him on what his religion is. She vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to elevate her perceived status. Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, but to build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. She's literally using God's name in vain. There are a few more unforgivable sins. Okay. Or I just said Christ is king because there was a renewed attack on the phrase, which was being sponsored by Dr. Peterson. Dr. Peterson teamed up with the ADL and the NCRI to try to label any political dissidents of theirs mentally ill. Okay. I think it's the thing that he's done that's been the most beyond the pale for me. For me, it's hang it up. I am not a fan of Dr. Jordan Peterson anymore because I see right through this. You'll recall, like I said, during that Lent, to him and 12 non-Christians, it was like 10 Jews. And I think it was 2 other people who were, we didn't know what their background was, to state that Christ is king is a form of political extremism. I'm not kidding. Take a look. This was if you forgot, thy name in vain, how online extremists hijacked Christ as king. Utterly absurd to say, completely ridiculous. And you will note the NCRI actually is known for, and by the way, to be clear, like Jordan Peterson has now gone on tour, which is why he's trending again today, because he's trying to justify this report saying that, like, we can't say Christ is king, according to Jacob Zucker, Joel Finkelstein, Rev. Johnny Moore, and Dr. Lee Jusum.
Yeah.
Sonia Yanofsky.
Actually, this is a really good analogy for what it's like when you have a Twitter addiction. It's like, this is your brain on drugs with like the fried egg. Does everyone remember that commercial? Or is this just like an old people thing now where like you're showing your age when you remember this commercial? Because that's what it's like. And I used to be addicted to it. I was, and then I got banned off Twitter for a month, and I had a forced detox. This is why I know this. I used to be addicted to Twitter like this. I thought Twitter was everything. I thought Twitter was real. It was driving me insane. And then I got permanently banned on my main account. And then when I got permanently banned on my main account, it disconnected the other accounts I had from the algorithm. And all of a sudden, I saw all this other stuff on Twitter that I had never seen before. And I was like, there are happy people on Twitter? Like, what's going on? And so I was like, oh shit, the algorithm has fucked with my brain. And it took about 30 days to get my account back. And coincidentally enough, 30 days is the amount of time that you really need to change a habit or to change your brain. So in that 30 days, I detoxed from Twitter and I have never gone back. And I said at the time, I was like, if I ever get my Twitter account back, I am never going back to that state again. It is real. Twitter will literally fry your brain.
And Alex Goldenberg, they got together and said, Gideon Führer, Simon Lazarus got together and said, you guys can't say Christ is king anymore. And Jordan Peterson slapped his name on this. He starts the attack on Christ is king. Nobody said it. And then he's upset when people come back and are like, we're gonna still declare Christ as king. And he used my name in this report. He used Jack Posobiec's name in this report, Andrew Tate's name, and of course Nick Fuentes' name, trying to pretend that this phrase was somehow extreme. And like I said, he's now taking that report public and doing rounds of propagandist media, calling people political psychopaths who say Christ is king. I'm not kidding. But of course, trying to make it sound like a lecture. Like he's just such a learned man. This is him on Sean Hannity being very intellectual about it.
Well, I think the most important thing to do first is to draw a distinction between the political and the psychological and not to collapse them together. So imagine this. Imagine that there's a group of individuals, about 4% of the population, who have a set of personality characteristics that have been described as dark tetrad. So they're Machiavellian, they use their language to manipulate, they're narcissistic, they want unearned social status and reputation, they're psychopathic, which makes them free of empathy and parasitical and predatory, and they're sadistic. So they take positive delight in the unnecessary suffering of others. Now,
are you guys getting a read on Jordan Peterson's energy? Like, does he come across as trustworthy in this Fox News interview? Because I don't think he comes across as trustworthy. I look at Jordan Peterson in this interview and I'm like, you are a shell of a person. There's nothing in there. There's no soul. Jordan Peterson has quite literally sold his soul to the Daily Wire and to the internet clout whore gods. Because he's a shell.
Those people also use false cries of victimization, let's say, to manipulate, and they're entitled. They seek vengeance when it's unwarranted, and they protest loudly and make very public cries for reparations that would be self-serving. Okay, now the way those people operate is they look for what patterns of belief form groups that they can infiltrate and then capitalize on.
Ooh,
and that happens on the right.
Infiltration.
We did a report, the same group, on the use of Christ as king as a manipulative strategy by bad actors, hypothetically on the right. And this report identified the same sort of people on the left. But it's not primarily political. They're wolves in sheep's clothing who look for where there's power and value and then adopt those beliefs as a surface camouflage so that they can elevate their moral status. Now, and this has become worse in recent years, as far as I'm concerned, because the evolved strategies that we have for dealing with these psychopathic types, psychopathic narcissistic types, don't work well online. And so the psychopaths can get away with their terrible manipulations online, and they can find like-minded people, and they can escape from any reputational consequences. And so there's always been psychopaths. Those are the Pharisees, for example, that Christ points to, the religious pretenders. Those are the people who use God's name in vain and claim moral virtue and even religious devotion. Well, all they're doing is feathering their own nests and furthering their own narrow interests. And the web, social media, anonymity enables them to organize and also hides them much more effectively. And this is a problem in religious organizations, it's a problem in political organizations, and it pathology.
Do you guys remember when James Lindsay started freaking out because people were talking to each other in group chats? Did anyone live through this moment in James Lindsay lore where James Lindsay one day just started tweeting, the Groypers are coordinating in group chats and Discord. They're coordinating in group chats and Discord. They're coordinating with each other. This is coordination. This is against Twitter terms of service. They all need to be banned because they're talking to each other in group chats. That was actually a thing. He still does it every once in a while. I bring this up because it's like, these people, these fucking classical liberals, and I'm going to categorize Jordan Peterson as a classical liberal. It's like, they're coordinating too. They're all sharing message points. They all share the same fucking talking points. But God forbid people they don't like talk to each other. Oh no, they're coordinating. They're coordinating. Ban them all. It's like, bro, people going to talk to each other, bro. People are going to trade tweets and retweet each other. It's like really not that big of a deal. Hey, Rottweiler with the chat. Problem is that he's very thin-skinned. He allowed trolls getting under his skin, hence the attacks on anonymity. He wasn't suited for the internet before selling his soul to the Daily Wire, much like Ricada and Kiwi Farms. Listen, I'll say this. As someone who never intended to be on the internet, who was suddenly known on the internet, it is a lot to adapt to have to deal with trolls on the internet. Like, I had no experience with this stuff before people started attacking me and doxing my family and doxing my house. Like, I had no experience with it. And it did drive me insane for a while. I had a nervous breakdown over the whole thing. Like, I really did, because of ongoing harassment and all that stuff. So I actually do have some sympathy for people like Nick Ricada, for people like Jordan Peterson, for people like James Lindsay. When you get people in your feed like that, it really does fuck with you. When you get people going after every aspect of your life, it does fuck with you. I would be far more sympathetic if they weren't trying to do this to other people. Because the thing of it is, I came through the experience of being harassed egregiously on the internet, and I said, I'm never doing that shit. I'm never putting that shit onto anyone else. And I tried to take it and use it for as much good as I can to say, okay, I recognize what's happening to Nick Fuentes. I recognize what's happening to Candace Owens. I recognize what's happening every time the internet gangs up on one of these people. Jordan Peterson's not doing that. He's not saying, listen, we need to rise above all of this. We need to, bring sanity back to the equation. No, he's doubling down and becoming a horrible asshole.
Is the whole culture. Most people, 80% of Americans agree on virtually everything. And then there's these fringe people, and they're not political. They're psychopathological narcissists who cloak themselves in political guise.
Come
on. And we
on.
all have to learn to distinguish between the political and the psychological. We're not good at it.
Man, imagine if someone sent that in a text message. It's like super long. Man, how would you even respond to that? It's just ridiculous.
Real.
All that over 3 words. Christ is king. What broke you? What are you doing? Has he realized how bizarre that all sounds? And I want you to really take the measure and focus here of the words he's using. He's trying to diagnose dissidents who won't listen to him. You can see he's growing increasingly angsty, really trying to sell this to people. Like, you really got to watch out for these people. Ironically, he keeps bringing up the Pharisees. The Pharisees were people who did not follow Christ and who did not declare that Christ was king and who were behind his persecution and did not, therefore, establish the fact that they had faith in him. That would be you, okay, seeing yourself as a teacher. We're going to use this analogy. Seeing yourself as a teacher.
Okay, so Kansas Mama says not following when you say Nick Fuentes broke him. Nick Fuentes and the Groypers broke Jordan Peterson because the Groypers were constantly in his replies. Jordan Peterson blocked me on Twitter just for saying he should talk to Nick Fuentes. The Groypers were constantly in his replies. They were calling him out on his hypocrisy. There is no one on Twitter that's like more powerful than Nick Fuentes, I think, in terms of their ability to mobilize an army to go into your replies. And Jordan Peterson just could not handle the heat that the Groypers sent him. And I mean, you saw that in his reaction to Nick Fuentes. Jordan Peterson, do you guys remember this? Jordan Peterson wrote an entire fucking poem about how Nick Fuentes was a psychopathic rat. He wrote, and it was over multiple tweets too. He wrote a whole fucking sonnet calling Nick Fuentes a psychopathic rat. Do you guys remember? Like, I don't know how else to explain. Yeah, people know what I'm talking about. That was crazy. And I'm sure there were other things involved as well. I'm sure it wasn't just Nick Fuentes and the Groypers, but I think that they had a lot to do with this.
Who knows what's right and what's wrong, but also will not declare whether or not you yourself are a follower of Christ. That, like, I don't even understand how he thinks that he is fit to lecture Christians on what true Christianity is by teaming up with a large group of Jews. It makes entirely no sense. But the words he uses, Machiavellian, dark triad, psychopathy, narcissism, is that sounding familiar to you? Do you guys remember hearing those words before? It's because the very same group that he teamed up with to do that report with, the NCRI, was behind the exact same language that was pushed in the media to describe people who were dissidents of the COVID vaccine. Okay, if you don't remember this, I'm going to show it to you. Look at this.
Seriously.
A contagion of institutional distrust, viral disinformation of the COVID vaccine, and the road to reconciliation. Here's another headline. The dark triad, literally what he talks about, and COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy, the role of conspiracy beliefs and risks perception. This is an actual excerpt from this published document. And the media went crazy and said, oh, you're actually a psychopath if you don't get the vaccine. Oh, if you don't listen to the government and roll up your sleeve and get the vaccine, and you're like going to visit your grandma, not letting her die alone, you're a psychopath. Do you guys remember these articles? It was like literally one day we woke up and it was like, look at your friend who won't get the vaccine, they're psychos. This is an excerpt from that publication. It says, with the spread of the coronavirus disease pandemic, the mass vaccination plan represents the primary weapon to control the infection curve. Unfortunately, vaccine hesitancy also spread out worldwide. This led to exploring the critical factors that prevent vaccination from improving the efficacy of vaccine campaigns. In the present study, the role of the dark triad, psychopathy, Machiavellianism, and narcissism in vaccine hesitancy was investigated. This is literally doing what—
Listen, can we make a new rule? Can we make a new rule, guys? Can we stop taking people seriously when they say someone is a narcissist or a psychopath? Like, there might be exceptions to this rule, but the vast majority of people who are hurling around the terms narcissist and psychopath are just doing it to demonize people they don't like. That's it. And so, like, everyone on the internet has been called a narcissist or a psychopath at some point, regardless of whether or not they actually are, because literally everyone has weaponized it to mean people I don't like with opinions I don't agree with. Can we just stop taking people seriously who do this? Because if someone is hurling around a term like narcissist or psychopath, it's because they have no other argument. They always use it to deflect from having a real discussion. No, I can't debate that person. They're a narcissist. I can't debate that person. They're a psychopath. Well, why can't you debate them then? If they're so awful, then it'll come out in the debate. You can't have an intellectual exchange of ideas because someone has a personality disorder. That seems to be a you problem. That seems to be more of a you problem than a me problem.
They just did a couple of years ago to people that were like, yeah, no, I'm good. People like me. I was like, I'm actually good. I'm not going to, you rolling out this vaccine, I'm not going to get it. And I'm going to encourage people to make sure they do their research because you only have one body. And then we get proven right. We get proven right. And all the experts who participated in this and wrote these articles and tried to explain away to people why you got to trust the experts were proven wrong. So yeah. If that is all sounding very familiar to you, the idea that you can turn it into a pathology, people disagreeing with you. If you disagree with me ever, if anybody in the comments disagrees with me, I got to tell you guys, it's a pathology. There's something wrong with you.
Exactly.
You're a sociopath. You're a psychopath. You're like Jeffrey Dahmer. What?
True, Candace.
Well, just so you guys know, that's a Soviet tactic. It's a Soviet tool of repression. For those of you that joined the book club, wait until we get into Sigmund Freud. Okay, because what he is actually doing is he is being a perfect psychologist or psychiatrist. That's what he is modeling himself after Sigmund Freud. Okay,
unironically, I kind of want to join Candace's book club a little bit.
Developed these Soviet-like tactics to control the masses, to socially engineer our behavior, to make people think there was something wrong with them if they didn't conform to groupthink. Showing you this right here, psychiatry as a tool for coercion in post-Soviet countries. It reads, this is a study that was done by the European Parliament, which describes that between the period of the 1960s and the 1980s in the USSR, psychiatry was turned into a tool of repression. Soviet psychiatry was cut off from the world psychiatry and developed its own highly institutional and biologically oriented course, providing at the same time a scientific justification for declaring dissidents mentally ill. That is what Jordan Peterson is doing, okay? He is unable to win the argument on just him being able to debate And so he's now essentially saying, he did an appearance on Joe Rogan and said the same thing, anyone who disagrees with me is mentally ill. It's dangerous Soviet type thinking, which maybe makes sense when you weigh it against the bizarre collection of Soviet era paintings of Vladimir Lenin, which Jordan Peterson has spoken about publicly that he collects in his house. Like him and his daughter have spoken about how they've got like so many paintings of Vladimir Lenin in their house. And she grew up with Vladimir Lenin paintings. And I believe that he even named his daughter after Gorbachev, if I'm correct. This is Michaela Peterson talking about growing up with hundreds of Soviet paintings in Dr. Peterson's house, her father's house. Take a listen.
What was it like growing up with Jordan as your dad? Imagine if your entire childhood you spent watching Jordan Peterson YouTube videos. My dad is really a lot like he is on YouTube. If you've seen any of his lectures or looked at his old courses, that was kind of what dinner table conversation was like. I learned a lot about psychology. I know a lot about personality. I didn't know it was weird until I was like 24 or until he got famous. And then I realized it was weird. We had 37 different colors of paint in our house, over 100 paintings. All the walls were completely covered in Soviet art. I once had a Lenin painting fall on me while I was sleeping.
That's weird.
Like I said, weird. He's described it as he got interested in 2001 and began collecting a bunch of eBay paintings that were being sold on eBay. And that's how he formed a collection, because he was interested in the cycle of every 15 years, something coming back into relevancy. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that stands for. All I know is that you should be alarmed by Jordan Peterson teaming up with the ADL, who are speech censors, to try to justify people, or at least trying to diagnose rather people who are just simply declaring that Christ is king. And you should be even more alarmed by the fact that nobody said it when they dropped this report. They just dropped it this Lent season. And now he's doing a tour trying to divide people politically by saying, well, those are political psychopaths. You don't want to be like the Christians. You don't want to be like the Christians. You don't want to be like the Catholics. You don't want to be like these group of people who think Christ is king. And I do want to also say this, because at root of this is his bizarre obsession with Nick Fuentes. There's others, like they are like in a bubble, and you just have to recognize that most people in the world don't know who Nick Fuentes is. But these people, the Seth Dillons, the Joel Berrys, they obsess over everything he does, and they believe everyone in the world is watching and doing whatever Nick Fuentes says, and he's gotten under their skin. That's the reality. These people are being broken.
James Lindsay multiple times has tweeted that I control Nick Fuentes and the Gripers. And he even got into a conversation with Nick. Like, Nick replied to him. Do you guys remember this? When James Lindsay was saying something absurd and Nick Fuentes replied to him. I don't remember exactly what the topic was, but Nick replied to them just totally talking about what James was talking about. James replied to Nick something like, isn't that Borysenko woman controlling you, or something like that? I was like, what the fuck? How is it? And just for the record, there is no universe in which I control Nick Fuentes and the Gripers. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. There is no controlling Nick Fuentes and the Gripers. I am a woman. There is no universe in which I control Nick Fuentes and the Gripers for nothing. But James Lindsay's out there on Twitter. That crazy woman is controlling Nick Fuentes and the Gripers and pulling the puppet. I was like, what the fuck are you even talking about, bro?
And by troll accounts, and they're now spending real money to try to control and censor our speech. And it's just not going to work, okay? You're not going to tell Christians how to behave. You're not a Christian. You're not going to tell, especially on this day, the Feast of St. George, who was martyred for refusing to back down on his faith. You're not going to tell Christians. That phase is over. Christians are going to start standing up for our faith. I'm going to be one of them. And to the extent that you have a problem with me declaring that Christ is king, because he is and forever will be, then I am going to be a thorn in your side. And that's all I'm going to say about that topic. All right, guys, want to remind you about Preborn. You know, I love them. We live in a culture that tells women that motherhood is a burden, that choosing life is the end of their freedom. That is obviously a lie. Preborn is the nation's largest.
Is that the end of her Jordan Peterson
because
talk?
You don't have to
She's moving into another topic
are unconfirmed at this moment, but I'm assuming they are real.
What's this?
It's got to be to shut that down, okay? Because we're talking about the difference of $90 million. You pay her $10 million to go away, and you're signing a $100 million deal.
All right.
Regardless of whether you are guilty or innocent, these text messages hit the public, and you are probably
Let's go watch the second Candace video about Jordan Peterson. Yeah. Does James Lindsay just assume Nick doesn't believe what he says and has handlers because, well, yeah, I mean, yes, because James thinks that Nick is a Fed, which is a stupid idea, by the way. Nick Fuentes is not a Fed in any way, shape, or form. But like, James is convinced that he has handlers, and apparently I'm one of his handlers, and I tell him what to do. It's an interesting idea. All right, I want to watch Candace's last episode before she goes on maternity leave because she's talking to Ian Carroll about, I think, the same stuff. Why are they so hung up on Nick Fuentes? The reason, so this is a Rumble chat. The reason they're so hung up on Nick Fuentes is that Nick Fuentes has an army of people who love him. He is completely independent, and there ain't shit they can do about it. And so they lie. I would encourage everyone, if you guys have never watched Nick Fuentes, I know he's not doing shows this week. Don't listen to anything they say online about Nick Fuentes. Because listen, I used to hate him. We used to not be friends. But then I actually went and investigated it for myself. And Nick Fuentes is not what they claim he is. They lie about him all the time. They slander him and smear him all the time. To the point where someone literally showed up at his house to try to kill him. Nick Fuentes might not be everyone's cup of tea. That's fine. I don't agree with everything Nick says. That's fine. But Nick Fuentes is not the person that they say he is. He's really not. He's not a bad person. He's not a hateful person. He's actually one of the nicer people that I've actually encountered. He's like a very nice person, unironically. And so the Groypers can be a little bit of a pain in the ass, but the Groypers are a pain in the ass because they don't like people attacking Nick, because Nick is like their hero and Nick is like their voice for the things that they believe in. So I would encourage everyone, if you have questions about Nick, go watch his shows, go watch him directly. Don't listen to what anyone has to say about him, because most of these people are full of shit. You guys, the gay men love Ian Carroll. The gay men love Ian Carroll. All right.
Off of her mom's trauma. Ian did a great video speaking about what's going on with Justin Bieber and the Hollywood wars. Of course, obviously, there's been a lot of blowback to Jordan Peterson over everything that he has said about psychopaths, which just means everyone who disagrees with me is one. So we're going to jump right into it. Welcome back to Candace.
I don't know what I think of Ian Carroll, if I'm honest about it. I don't have an opinion. I don't like him. I don't hate him.
Ian Carroll, welcome back.
Good to be back. Good to see you.
Oh my
People are
God.
excited that you're going to be taking over for me.
Yeah, it's really humbling and I'm really glad. I'm proud to be doing it. And I've actually really.
Ian Carroll is taking over for Candace Owens while she's on maternity leave. Really? You know what? Good for him. I don't really have an opinion about the guy. I don't like him. I don't dislike him. I am kind of like, I'm neutral. I like some of the things he says. I don't like some of the things he says, but he's stirring the pot. And like, I like people who stir the pot. I like people who don't give a fuck. I like people who say what they want to say. And then everyone that comes at them, he's like, fuck you. Like, I like, you know, I will say that like Ian Carroll has gotten a bomb dropped on his life in the last several months, and good for him for still being out there and just doing his thing and not giving an inch. And even if I don't agree with everything he says, I'm like, even if I don't agree with people, I like that people are out there expressing themselves, and I like that people don't give in to like the mob that tells them don't express yourself. Like, say things I don't agree with. I don't really care if people say things I don't agree with, but like, if you're out there just like being you, you know what? That's a beautiful thing.
Really excited about the stories that I'm kind of working on right now to get ready for it.
Yeah, you're like also like me, where you just get on a rabbit hole and just start researching. And you're suddenly everywhere. I was watching a video that you did. I mean, we should talk about this briefly, because I think it's all kind of related to psychology being used on the public, us being socially engineered, and we're kind of noticing a lot of things at once, and particularly in Hollywood. It's kind of when somebody tries to get out, then we're suddenly told that they're on drugs and they're crazy. And you did a video on Justin Bieber. So what is your take there?
I mean, we're still in the middle of whatever's happening to Justin, but I really was building off of a lot of things that you had said and a lot of things that Brett had said. And even if you don't have any inside information, just looking at the pattern in Hollywood, the pattern with all these different stars, and obviously they take a different tactic with each different star based upon whatever they can exploit or whatever they can sort of smear or slander. Like it was different with Michael than it was with Prince and Britney.
I will say that Ian Carroll's shorts are distracting to me. They're too short. Men shouldn't wear shorts like that. I know the gay men probably love them, but I don't think men should wear shorts that short.
And yay. And now Justin, they are attacking what they can attack. And once Justin's close, circle started coming out and telling people what was really going on, it became very apparent that the smear tactics being used to sort of pathologize Justin and to make his fans worried about him and give him this kind of like,
what is going on with Justin Bieber? Like, serious question. I have no idea what's going on with Justin Bieber. Is Justin Bieber getting like, Are they doing the thing that they do to Justin Bieber to try to destroy his image? Wouldn't it be amazing if Justin Bieber came out and just totally lit everything on fire? That would be extraordinarily entertaining. He's drugged out. God, that poor kid, man. I feel so bad for like child stars. Like, that's gotta fuck you up. I don't know. I kind of like skinny jeans. I like men. I don't mind men wearing skinny jeans. I really don't. So I don't agree with that, Salvatore.
Like manufactured crisis. It's the exact same pattern.
Yeah.
And I mean, it looks like the kind of thing that they're doing every time someone threatens them or someone that is very powerful or important or influential tries to get away from them. And in some ways, I think that the Justin one is almost more targeted because he's not going after the whole industry. It really feels like this one is kind of Scooter specifically taking personal offense to what's going on here. And Scooter kind of got trapped in the middle of this deal with Hybe. So I think that it's sort of a case where you have a specific, I don't want to say mobster, but someone that sort of feels like a mobster.
Discuss a bit about the deal with Hybe.
So Scooter was hemorrhaging his client. Scooter's very well known in the industry for not being, shall we say, the nicest guy to work with or for. He's great if you're working for him and you're making him money and you're making him like fame and success. But over and over, artists throughout his career have left him and said that he's great until he doesn't need you anymore, and then you're discarded. And he had lost all of his artists, including like Ariana Grande, for example, the Taylor Swift drama. And Justin was like his last big name. And he sold his whole business, Ithaca Holdings, to Hybe, which is the K-pop company, which is very like the Korean mafia of music. And I'm pretty sure that was in 2021. That predates this kind of Justice World Tour
mafia
fiasco where Justin's face was paralyzed and Justin, incurred all this debt. So it kind of feels, from my perspective, that I'm assuming that Scooter kind of saw the writing on the wall and was trying to move out of this position of managing talent because no more talent was with him and into this executive role. And he managed that and he sold what he had for $1 billion.
I hope so. Oh, wouldn't that be amazing? And again, Kanye West for me is a little crazy. Kanye West is a little out there. I don't like a lot of the things that Kanye West says and does, but you know what? I like that he's causing problems. I like that he doesn't give a fuck. Isn't that like the best place to be? Like, I really wish more people could be like this. Like, don't like what someone says, don't agree with what someone says, fine. But can we just appreciate that they're doing something different? Can we just appreciate that they don't give a fuck what anyone says? Like, if someone says some crazy shit that I don't agree with, but they say it with conviction and it pisses a lot of people off, I'll be like, all right, I'm not even mad that you said something I disagree with. I'm not even mad, Kanye West, that you posted porn on the internet, and I don't like porn and I don't want to see porn. And I certainly don't want to see like any fucking Kanye West fucking anyone on Twitter. Like, I don't want to see that. But you know what? I kind of like that he did it. I kind of like that. You know what it does? It teaches people to not give a fuck what other people think, because like, no matter what you believe, you really like, what other people think really doesn't fucking matter. It is none of your business. Just say what you want to say. If more people just said what they wanted to say, the world would be a much more interesting place.
to Hybe. And this company, Ithaca Holdings, was like making less than 200 million a year in revenue, I believe. So it's like they're selling it at this crazy high valuation. And presumably that's because it includes the future perpetual rights to Justin Bieber and his brand, right?
Okay, I didn't even look at this.
And so, yeah, so this Hybe sale, this Hybe deal is critical because it happens before the Justice World Tour. Justin then goes on this crazy, more than a year-long world tour where he happens to get COVID at the start of it. And then he happens to get an injury that looks an awful lot like a vaccine injury.
His wife also had she had a brain clot.
Exactly. And he winds up with half his face paralyzed, can't continue. And so I'm not super clear on all the specifics because I don't have any like files or anything. It was just what I was told about the situation. But apparently the tour was booked out on advances, which is not uncommon for the industry as far as I'm aware. But it was such a big tour. We're talking hundreds of millions, at least tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars advanced. And so when he's partway through this tour and then can't continue, suddenly there's a whole bunch of debt that's been incurred that's not getting paid back. And obviously then Justin goes to his management and is like, so we have insurance, right? This is no problem. We have insurance for this kind of a thing. And allegedly what then was told to him is that, no, you broke your contract. So there is no insurance payout here. You actually have to cover this debt. And so Justin's management, whether it was Scooter technically at the helm of this or his other managers that were at the helm of this, that management team managed him in such a way that the most popular pop star, like one of the most popular pop stars in the world, got saddled with hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt on a tour that they had mismanaged and that he had to all of these things reflect on the management and how poor their management style is, and are things that if Scooter was really a good manager, this would never happen to your artist because he's supposed to work for the artist. He's supposed to be like the number one manager in the industry. So that all happens in the middle, and Justin is trying to get out, and Scooter's on the hook for $1 billion worth of value. Like he's promised $1 billion worth of Justin Bieber's future to this Korean company, which he's now on the board of. And so I feel like Scooter's in the lurch because suddenly Scooter can't deliver on this $1 billion promise that he's made. And Justin's trying to escape from that promise because he hates them all. And they're still trying to control him through his other company. And so it feels to me like everyone is sort of trapped in bad ideas that are sort of leveraged to the hilt in terms of how much money is involved and how many promises are involved. And it all revolves around Justin continuing to produce music, which like anyone who's had a kid or a creative in their life knows that no creative dude like Justin is going to be producing hit singles if he hates you and you're trying to control his whole life. And so it feels like we're seeing not only these smear campaigns to try to get him back in line coming from Scooter, but it also feels like we're seeing Justin kind of acting out because he has no power. He's in secret litigation. They won't let him open a new clothing company. They won't let him like profess his, faith in God, or they're slandering that. So it's messy in every direction.
Yeah. It's really interesting because it also makes you just revisit everybody in the past that has kind of gone through a similar thing, a similar cycle. And what's really the tell is just the way the paparazzi suddenly takes a picture of them and they're doing kind of nothing. Yeah. And then suddenly they're trying to spin a picture of any person. Like if you just have like a resting face, miserable, exhausted, on drugs, this, that. And it's like, you could take anybody out of context and say this. And especially someone like Britney Spears, I kind of go back to the breakdown and how they just had the paparazzi hounding her. And I wonder if she was similarly trying to take ownership of her life and trying to leave, because the reality is you can't get into these contracts as someone that is that young, even if your mom says like, yes, thumbs up, we can do this. And suddenly you maybe perhaps want to relitigate that when you get older. And from what I heard and I'll tell you exactly who it was, actually Courtney Love. I actually have had some conversations with her. Wow. And she was saying to me that publishing in Hollywood is just one big gang and they will own all of the publishing rights one way or another. And I go back and I think about what Michael Jackson said. I go back and think about what Prince said, and I'm looking at Justin Bieber and I'm like, is this what this is really about? Is you are literally not allowed to take anything out of Hollywood with you when you go. Absolutely. I mean, we know full well, not a secret, that Hollywood and especially the music industry was founded by the mob and the mafia, and the music industry specifically. You can like
look into the exact mobsters that are famous for having been the sort of founders of this model. And then you can look at the history of the industry and see how they've always treated their artists this way. And they've always embezzled money in these ways and laundered money in these ways. And there's no evidence that it ever stopped, but there is evidence that the same tactics are still being used.
Right.
And to the paparazzi thing, Justin just posted, he's been doing it more and more, but he just posted on his Instagram a couple days ago, a video of himself trying to walk out of his place with Haley and the paparazzi, the way they are there. And I can't help but suspect, like, is that kind of paparazzi attention always around every star, or is it only there when someone wants to smear you?
Yeah, and they said
and then they put pressure on you.
Exactly.
And
And
you
my
get
PR
stressed.
person said that he was like, nobody does paparazzi anymore. He's like, it's just a different era. People have cell phones, and he's like, and so when you see that, it is because somebody is calling and paying someone. That's not paparazzi. That's just stalking
It's
someone
paid
and trying
harassment.
to drive them crazy and and pretending it's because they're famous. I think we have the video actually of what he posted onto his Instagram, Justin Bieber.
Oh, what's up? Come out.
And he's trying to leave your house here.
Wow.
Yeah, and Haley's right behind him. You can see her in just a second.
Watch out, guys. Watch out. Watch out.
Crazy.
And if you look at these dudes' faces, they don't look like creatives. They don't really look like the kind of people you'd expect to be paparazzi photographers.
Yo, watch out.
Very harassing.
Yeah, the idea is really just to drive people crazy because they can't get a moment of privacy and to make them have that breakdown. It's interesting because
That's
we're
gonna
actually
suck, man.
I've got all these books that obviously I'm planning to read for my book club, and the one
Can you imagine that? Can you imagine living? And I know people are like, well, he's got a lot of money. He was famous. Listen, man, like I was well known on a very, very, very minor degree. Just being in like the political world and all that, like a lot of people knew who I was. And like I purposely become like less relevant in recent years because like I just don't want that. Like I cannot, even that little tiny bit of people knowing who I am, and I don't mind that you guys know who I am, like whatever, I'm on the internet, but like even that little tiny bit of like people know who I am. Like people come up to me at the airport sometimes, they come up to me when I'm out in public, they like, and it's just like, it's so weird to me and so bizarre. People know enough about me that they want to fucking dox my house on the internet, or they want to cause problems for my friends and my family. Like it's so much, and I can't imagine being at the level of like Justin Bieber, where like you can't even leave your own home without getting harassed. You always have these people in your face. You always have these people in your business. It's like, it is a prison. I cannot, like, I would never even want to be Candace Owens level, or even Ian Carroll level of famous. I would not want to be their level of famous. It's a weird dichotomy because like, I do want more people to know about my work and I want more people to understand what's going on, but I'm also like, I don't actually want to be out there that much. I personally don't want that.
that I'm really excited about. We're reading Hollywood Babylon, so we're talking about that.
Crazy
People need
book.
to know.
If anyone's not in the book club, you should join. That book is crazy.
It's crazy about the founding of Hollywood, the gangs, the amount of people that they killed, the amount of people that died, and the fact that the media today tries to like debunk this book is incredible because it tells you like the media has always, you learn in this book, the media has always been a part of this organ, this gang organ, which we're obviously all very much aware of. But the next book we're reading, and this kind of pivots and gets into, because we're seeing it in politics as well. It's like this classification of a person as crazy if they don't get in line. It happened to me last year. It's like I went from totally just being an amazing, oh, she's got so much potential, she's amazing, to like, no, actually, she's suffering postpartum psychosis. And the second book that we're reading is called The Assault on Truth. Fascinating book. And Skylar, you can bring this up. We spoke about this in book club, but I'm going to give this also to the public, written by this guy named Jeffrey Masson. Jeffrey Masson was this Harvard graduate, psychoanalyst, Jewish guy. And I'm telling you he's Jewish because it's relevant, because they can't just go, oh, he's anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
And he got his dream job working as an assistant director at the Sigmund Freud Archive Center. So he worked under Sigmund Freud. This is the father of modern psychology, right? He worked under Anna Freud at the Sigmund Freud Archive Center, and he was next in line to become the director. So Jeffrey said, you know what? I'm going to learn German so I can read all of these papers that haven't been released to the public. It's an archive center, so they get access to things that we weren't allowed to see. So he learns German. He's reading through Sigmund Freud's work, and he suddenly realizes, like, for those of you that have never studied psychology or don't know a little bit about Sigmund Freud, if you're listening to this, the relevant portion is he just did a lot of work about children and sex, and kept basically, like, when he first came out, he said, like, you know, children are being molested by their parents. And then he did a complete 180 and like went back on his seduction theory and was like, actually, these kids are attracted to their parents. And this was kind of one of his biggest things that he established. He was very interested in children and sex. And he reads through his documents and he said, Sigmund Freud had proof that these children were being molested by their parents. And he hid it and gaslit them and created modern psychology and the psychoanalytic movement to gaslight people and to figure out how you could gaslight people by just dying.
I didn't know that. I was never really that into Freud. A lot of socialists are into Freud. Leftists fucking love Freud. There are a lot of leftist psychoanalysts. Like, Freud is a very big, this is something we haven't really delved into that much, but it's something I've kind of like paid attention to just on the periphery. Leftists are fucking obsessed with Sigmund Freud. I was always more into Jung, so I never really paid that much attention to Freud. That's fucking crazy. Everyday Therapist, you got to read that book. I'll take your recommendation.
Diagnosing them when they were telling the truth about something. Oh. So this book, and you can go down to that section, Skylar, if you want.
It's wild. I never knew it was in a book I could buy and read.
So this guy was thinking, once I ring the alarm on this, the entire like mainstream media is going to want to cover the fact that Sigmund Freud was a fraud, and he was covering for a bunch of parents who were like molesting their children. And it turned out that they all turned on him. He ends up in like a 10-year lawsuit.
And this was released in the 80s and 90s.
Oh,
yeah.
Right? This guy is definitely still alive. Wow. Yeah. And so he was supposed to succeed him as the director of the Sigmund Freud archives after his and Anna Freud's deaths. And then he rings the alarm. Candace. He starts speaking to Anna, and he's like, everyone's going to be so happy that I'm like ringing the alarm and saying that actually the father of modern psychology is just the father of modern gaslighting. And these kids, he had actual clinical proof that these kids had been molested. Crazy. Okay. And so what ends up happening is the entire mainstream media smears him, libels him. He ends up in a 10-year defamation law.
Bro, everything is fake and gay. Literally everything is fake and gay. Everything that like you think you know is true is probably not true. This is why we only use primary sources on this channel. I don't trust any of these people. Literally every single thing is fake and gay.
Lawsuit as they try to smear him as like a crazy person, and he's like, I just did everything right. And so to be able to bring this book is so relevant, because I always say you got to go back to the beginning to understand these tactics that they have been employing, because Sigmund Freud, his family, the Bernays family, then becomes the father of modern propaganda. Edward Bernays, who did the World War I, the World War II propaganda to make Americans hate Germans, to make us eat breakfast. Like, I mean, tons of things that Edward Bernays did. That was his nephew. And they also control today modern PR. Like the biggest PR person in the world is like Matthew Freud, who's his like great-great-grandfather. And so it's super important. And so
I had to study Bernays in school because I was a public relations major when I was an undergraduate. I had to study Edward Bernays up and down. And of course, they never talked about any of this in I had to read like 3 fucking books on Edward Bernays. I know it's not a lot of books, but like relatively speaking to other topics, it's like there was a heavy emphasis on fucking Edward Bernays. But they never talked about any of this when I was in school. Thanks, Boston University.
So when I see these tactics and you get to like now, obviously we should have talked about like this random report from Jordan Peterson that like everyone disagrees with me as a psychopath. You just go like, okay, this is what the psychology community actually, that's what he is. He's a professional psychologist.
It's a propaganda.
And when you don't get what you want or the public isn't doing what you want, you're supposed to just call them crazy and gaslight them.
Devilishly intelligent. It's such a smart tactic, especially in Hollywood in the music industry, because you have all these people that you have every case to make that they might be crazy. And some of them actually, like, obviously, like when you go through trauma, if you're an Epstein victim, or you go through trauma because you're a child star and you were probably molested or drugs or whatever it is, then it's very easy to make the case that they might be crazy. But time after time after time, you notice that despite what their mental state might be, the FBI investigated Michael Jackson for 10 years and did not find any evidence of the allegations, as one example, right? And he was very clearly a threat to the music industry. So they keep pathologizing people over and over.
And he was getting ownership.
Exactly.
Like, I
right?
was because I watched your video. That Michael Jackson was actually getting ownership, owned the Beatles catalog, and they just moved and they were like, actually, he's a pedophile.
Yeah.
And the father of modern psychology taught this. So when you see that someone is majoring in psychology, it's such an important book, because I know that obviously you're signing up for the major. I'm not accusing you of co-signing this, because we don't know the sources of any of these things. We think of Sigmund Freud and we just hear he's great. No, this guy was a professional gaslighter in chief.
When I first heard about Sigmund Freud's, like, his whole theory in, I think, middle school, it rang some bell. It was like, this is not right. This is weird. Like, the whole Oedipus complex thing, like, it just does not pass the sniff test, even as a child. As an adult, nowhere in between does that pass the sniff test if you're anywhere normal at all.
Oh, yeah.
So it's kind of crazy that they got away with it passing the sniff test for so long, that it's taught in, like, normal mainstream colleges and universities and community colleges, and no one's asking any questions about this. That is pretty weird.
Yeah, and there's so much more that, like, about him, like Wilhelm Fliess, by the way. If you want to look up this guy, Wilhelm Fliess. Fliess is spelled F-L-E-I-S-S. This was Sigmund Freud's best friend. And according to this guy, Jeffrey Masson, also his lover, and
really? Freud was gay?
He similarly molested his son. And so he was seeing all of these people. Wilhelm Fliess's son is Robert Fliess. And Robert Fliess came out and said that he was molested by his father. So there was an entire psychoanalytic community of disgusting people. And they created a social science, because that's what psychology is. It's a social science to see if you could gaslight people about their experiences. So it was the first thing that came to my mind when I was like, is Jordan Peterson just trying to gaslight me? And it produced...
That's not all psychology is. There is a logic to the psyche. Psychology means there is a logic to the psyche. You can figure out why people do what they do, but not if you have some sort of, like, innuendo, not if you have some sort of, like, motive. Like, you have to look at things from a more detached perspective. And it's just like anything else. Like, psychology can be abused by anyone. The field of psychology can be abused by anyone. But it's like, I don't want people to think, like, there are good things that psychologists do. There are, in terms of, like, there are wonderful therapists out there that will help you move on from whatever trauma you have in your life. There are wonderful coaches out there that will use psychology to make your life exponentially better. But it's just like with anything else. It's like, there's good and bad to everything. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Psychology can be very useful, but you have to find, like, the right person.
To report, and people that were like, he didn't name names. He literally named my name, not only in the report, for saying Christ is king, which I'm like, you're going to pretend I became a Christian.
Freudian psychology.
My first book was published in 2018, and I wrote about my biblical upbringing with my grandfather and included biblical quotes all throughout it. You're not going to gaslight me about my Christianity. I've declared Christ is king my entire life. But to see that method of someone who doesn't declare Christ is king, believes in psychology, believes in his own, like,
no, he doesn't even believe in his own rhetoric. I mean, clean your room, Jordan. We've all seen the clip of Jordan's room. Like, raise your kids in a way that's like, there's, and I mean, I don't even want to go into the other things that Jordan, like, pathologizing you, the healthy Catholic woman that's raising, soon to be 4 kids, versus pathologizing Jordan. It's not a comfortable conversation to have once you start looking at it, clearly. And it's so backwards that he would try to pathologize you in his shoes.
And what's crazy is, like, a psychopath is Ted Bundy.
Yeah.
Like, Candace Owens is Ted Bundy. Candace Owens is Jeffrey Dahmer. Is a bit of a stretch. And it's kind of funny. And I don't care. And I'm pretty happy about this stuff. And I think that's kind of one of the things, this newer movement, now that we have access to information and we kind of know that all of the experts are BS, it doesn't make me feel heavy. It makes me feel light. Like, we can stop believing in this burden of the idea of the expert. But I wanted to show people this because it's important to see how often they do this, where they just call us all psychopaths if we don't do what they want. Skylar, can you bring up the article of Trump supporters being psychopaths, like female Trump supporters? And it's the exact same language. Female Trump supporters exhibit slightly elevated subclinical psychopathy, study finds.
Wow.
And it goes into, again, the dark triad, the dark tetrad of traits that they have. Then there's like the Science Direct one during COVID. I think I put a link in there. Let's check this one out here too, where COVID-19 prevention behavior is differentially motivated by primary psychopathy, narcissism, and vulnerable dark triad traits. Like, this is what they do. It's like, if you don't do what we want you to do, we will accuse you of being a psychopath. And it's like, dude, I just want to see my grandma during COVID, and I kind of like Trump. Like, am I a psycho? Like, I'm not Ted Bundy.
Yeah. Or just like, I want to believe what Anthony Fauci himself said about masks 3 months ago at the start of COVID. And now I just want to believe what he said about herd immunity 3 months ago in official statements. And then suddenly it's the opposite. But I'm a psychopath for all that. And I think that during COVID, we got a certain flavor of getting over trust the experts. And a lot of people woke up to the fact that like these health experts can be controlled. But now the Douglas Murray thing, the Jordan Peterson thing, and everyone that's been in between.
Breaking news. I know we're listening to Candace and Ian Carroll. This kiwi white beer is delicious. It actually does taste like kiwi. I tasted a little bit of lime, which is, I'm not mad at it, but this is really good. All right, back.
There, I think it's kind of waking us up to, it's all experts. It's not just those ones. It's also those ones and also those ones. And it's not just the ones in the White House or in, that kind of field. It's also the ones that are coming on our podcast. It's also the ones that are going out and doing media appearances.
No, I don't agree with that. I don't agree that it's all experts that are the problem. It's the experts that are not intellectually honest that are the problem. And listen, like, admittedly, I would be the first to say I think there is a real lack of intellectual integrity across basically every single fucking discipline, because everyone has a political motive, everyone has a narrative, but there are people out there that are honestly just trying to do a good job, that are just trying to hinge into reality. Sadly, people that are just trying to present facts, it doesn't play well on the internet. I've been trying to do this for years. I've been trying to say, here's the evidence, here's the evidence, here's the evidence, here's the evidence. Here's the evidence. Just look at the evidence. Just look at the video. Just decide for yourself what you think about it. I take a very nonpartisan approach to this. Maybe I'm taking this a little bit personally right now, but I have tried to present information in just a detached way to say, here's what the evidence says. And no one responds to it. So I don't think it's a matter of there are no experts that don't want to gaslight you. I think it's a matter of people listen to the most inflammatory things, and then they believe that the inflammatory thing is all there is.
And I think people are starting to wake up to the big picture.
And I think the big picture makes us ask questions about, what is university really about? Right? What is university actually about? And it is a way to just indoctrinate people into these various cults of understanding, believing in their own expertise, but not even knowing where their expertise originates from. And that's why I said going backwards and speaking about Hollywood, reading these books, these old books, or, reading this newer book from Jeffrey Masson, where he kind of goes back and he just tells the truth. I just read Sigmund Freud's own pieces of paper, and in his own studies and his own journals and his own diaries, and he still got gaslit and called all of these things.
I think it's more of a matter of we need to get people back to looking at primary sources. Stop allowing other people to interpret this evidence for you. Always go to the and that includes with me, by the way. I tell my audience all the time, don't believe shit I say. I'm offering an opinion. But let's look at the video. Let's watch a video of a protest. Let's watch a video of what the leftists at Columbia are actually saying, because P.S., it's not Jew hate. It's not anti-Semitism. It's not any of those things. Let's just go directly to the source and watch it. And it's if you go directly to the source, there's no ability to gaslight you. But what a lot of people do is they still watch the news. They still get their news from their favorite conservative commentator or right-leaning commentator or left-leaning commentator for that matter. And it's Stop allowing other people to interpret the news for you. Stop allowing other people to curate the news for you. Because the moment that you're allowing someone else to curate the news that you're consuming is the moment that you're allowing yourself to be gaslit. But if you just say, I'm not going to watch the fucking news, I'm just going to go to the primary source, I'm just going to look at for myself what they actually said, what they actually did, you're going to be much more informed and much more hinged into reality about what is going on. You cannot fake primary sources. As much as they try, you really can't.
And had to fight for his life and his reputation. And I feel blessed. I don't know this guy, I haven't reached out, but that I can finally give a platform for this man who fought such a noble fight to expose the entire field of psychology. But what are we to think of the fact that they knew this and Sigmund Freud is still celebrated in our universities, Ian?
The thing that I think immediately is if you look at the timing there, it's like 1890s, 1900s, kind of like turn of the century, like the Gilded Age, the Industrial Revolution is peaked, and we're talking, that's the robber barons, you know, the Federal Reserve is about to be founded. Like that's the JP Morgans of this world. That's the, if I'm not mistaken, the Carnegies and the Vanderbilts. That is the era of sort of like this peak wealth disparagement between this upper class, this lower class, but very tight media control. Like, you know, most people are still illiterate. Most people, there's not TV or any kind of information dissemination yet. So they existed in a world where you had these extremely wealthy elites doing Lord knows what, that they would need people like Sigmund Freud explaining these things. Right. And they're getting on the train where the European trend of central banking and funding wars from both sides and stuff was pretty well underway by 1900, but they hadn't yet gotten the Federal Reserve. So we're in this era where the powerful elite of the world, these globalist elites of the world, like they were at the top of their game and about to perform their greatest coup d'etat of all time, which was the Federal Reserve. So I'm just looking at the timing there of when Freud kind of gave them this nugget. And I'm not surprised that he's protected. I'm not surprised that he got built into all those Ivy League institutions because they had so much power and control at that time. And it was a time when they, like, if you look back in history, there's some eras like the Iran-Contra era.
Well, Barry Weiss is an IDF fucking an Israeli intelligence asset. And so Barry Weiss is not actually the person you should be going to for information. And by the way, like the Groypers are actually Catholics that actually go to church every single week and oftentimes act more Catholic and more Christian than most of the people calling them fakers on Twitter. So I know a lot. Sarah, I don't know who you are. I haven't seen you here before, but what you might not know about me is I am friends with Nick Fuentes. I am friends with many of the Groypers. I'm friends with many of the higher profile Groypers. I know who they are. I know what they believe. Don't tell me what they believe. And don't tell me that I thought you said Barry Weiss. Sorry, I misread that. But like, Ben Shapiro is fucking off. This is actually even worse. I read that as Barry Weiss at first. Ben Shapiro is even fucking worse. Ben Shapiro has been spreading lies about Nick Fuentes since Nick Fuentes was 18 years old. What kind of an asshole do you have to be to spread lies and smear campaigns about someone when they're 18 years old, continuing up to present day? Nick is like about to turn 27. This has been going on for almost 10 years. And you think the Groypers, who are like, Nick is their voice, you think the Groypers are going to be nice to Ben Shapiro when Ben Shapiro has been shitting on Nick Fuentes for almost 10 years? Can we have a reality check, please? Ben Shapiro is the last person that anyone should be listening to. Ben Shapiro is fucking evil. I agree wholeheartedly.
Where the deep state clearly fumbled the ball multiple times. But then there's certain eras where the deep state, whatever groups are in there, clearly were nailing it. And like the 1900s to 1930s era is, let's just say they were really on point.
And what's interesting is that all of these perverts actually came from the same region. Like their origin stories, and I'm really pointing this out in our Hollywood Babylon reading, is like as we keep speaking about these founders of Hollywood, the founders of movies, these founders of propaganda, they all came from like the same region in Eastern Europe. And it was at a time where they were trying to overthrow Christian empires. I mean, you and I spoke about this even with like LBJ's family. Like LBJ's family, they were the 1845ers left, trying to overthrow Germany. It failed. I think it was the 1845 revolution. It might be the 1848 revolution, actually, of Germany. It was like all of these communists were trying to overthrow these Christian empires. The Russian Tsar gets assassinated. And then all of these Eastern European, I would say, like, I'm pretty sure Sigmund Freud was the kingdom of Galicia. His family's from, he's a Galician Jew. And they come over to America. And kind of the story that we're told is, oh, everyone just came with the clothes in their back and then like made it big in Hollywood or made it big in modern psychology. And I'm like, no, America was a young country. We were very like susceptible to all of these things that, like you just said, that we didn't understand. But there is so much more here that meets the eye. And it's only through actually engaging and reading these books that would never become movies, these books that you are not allowed to read, that you can truly understand like what's happened in this country, because we all recognize that something's not right. And a huge piece of this is psychology. What is the modern media? What was MK Ultra? Why did the CIA invest in journalists? It's all about controlling our minds. And they think that all you need is an expert to get up there and tell you something's psychopathic or someone's crazy or someone, Britney Spears needs to go on a Psych 5150 hold, or Kanye's talking about Christ and he's got to go on a Psych 5150 hold. And we need to be like, no, what was this person trying to say that you have suddenly made me think they were totally fine for 20 years and suddenly like, no, Michael Jackson's like wacko jacko.
Yeah. And I mean, Hollywood Babylon is a perfect book to highlight that, because they don't really focus on where people are from, but they do clearly focus on the moral degradation of America through Hollywood, and how those Hollywood executives knew what they were doing and were doing it intentionally. And it was illegal. Like the things that they were publishing were so morally reprehensible to the culture that America used to have that they were illegal. And they actually had to like slow walk it over time. And you can see in that book how different American morals and virtue used to be, and how it slowly was degraded through movies and music and propaganda, psychology. And now we wind up in this world today where like on your Twitter feed is the OnlyFans girl, that the two OnlyFans girls, they're having this horrible competition that I don't even want to talk about because I hate how people platform them. It's like just in our normal lives all the time. So,
but that is what we were speaking about last time, about pornography being a spiritual weapon. And this was literally imported over to America. And people need to understand that. It's like Hollywood introduced these concepts, and it was a war with this Christian culture that they wanted to collapse. And I would say probably, by the time you get to the 1960s is when they really kind of started proliferating that pattern. And that's why that book Chaos is just amazing, because you realize they've always been into these weird sex cults. Even Hollywood Babylon telling you that these directors who came from Germany would protect the sets and like make them have these sexual orgies as they were creating films about Babylon, about, Egypt. And so there is sort of this underbelly of a demonic religion is really what I took away from this book, because and we talk about this in my book club a lot, but what did they believe in? What are you actually, what are these people? These aren't Abrahamic faiths. This is not Judaism.
I mean, they speak clearly about their hate for Christianity.
Yes.
And their disdain for Christianity. And a lot of those communist revolutionaries in that 1900 era were explicit that their goal was to overthrow Christian religion and Christian nations. So,
and it was the most assassinations of like the king of Italy, I think it was Umberto the First. The person who assassinated him was motivated by Emma Goldman. I was speaking to you about her. That woman,
rabbit hole.
Whole rabbit hole that flies under the radar, that introduced feminism to America by like controlling Margaret Sanger. Everything that we know about our history is totally fake, and it really does make you wonder if we are living in the Matrix.
I've never actually,
like when you see this stuff,
Candace,
you're like, wait,
stop.
It is
Candace, stop. I've never actually done a deep dive on Emma Goldman before. I obviously know who she is, but I don't actually know that much about her. Emma Goldman is like the only female that I would say is involved in the founding of communism, because communism was founded by men. For all the men that like to say that women ruin everything, guess what? Communism was founded by mostly Jewish men, except for Emma Goldman. And I've never actually done a deep, maybe we should do that for Socialism Saturday tomorrow. Maybe I should find a documentary about Emma Goldman for Socialism Saturday, because we're going to be doing Socialism Live earlier in the day. I would like to learn more.
Totally plausible. Nothing is real. The media is not real. Emmanuel Macron being president isn't real. They can just pull people up, pluck them, make them leaders, give them degrees, and make you think these people are experts. And your entire life is being guided by them. And I'm like, I think we are living in like the Matrix. Like this is totally, reality is not what it actually is, but people seem to be like, waking up now suddenly.
Yeah, it's like this is the kind of report, like these types of stories are the ones that do make me genuinely question, is there some sort of Illuminati conspiracy going on here?
100%.
Because a lot of days it's easy for me to fall back into the like kind of mundane
Sarah,
conspiracy.
Sarah is Jewish. I promise you, Sarah is Jewish. Sarah is still here trying to defend Ben Shapiro's shit. Sarah, Ben Shapiro has been smearing Nick Fuentes since Nick Fuentes was 18 years old. I don't give a flying fuck if the Groypers went and said Christ is king on a photo that Ben Shapiro's wife posted publicly on the internet. I don't care. If she doesn't want people commenting on her photos, then she shouldn't post it on the internet. And that still does not excuse Ben Shapiro trying to ruin Nick Fuentes' life, his career, smearing him all over the fucking place from the time he was 18 years old. Ben Shapiro has behaved absolutely reprehensibly towards Nick Fuentes. He has never had an intellectual argument with Nick Fuentes. He has never debated Nick Fuentes. He's gone around to college campuses shit-talking Nick Fuentes. Ben Shapiro can sit the fuck down, and so can you. Because, Sarah, I noticed something interesting about you. You're not acknowledging the fact that Ben Shapiro has been smearing Nick Fuentes on the internet since he was 18 years old. Sarah, why aren't you being intellectually honest? Is it because you're Jewish, Sarah? I bet it's because you're fucking Jewish. Why can't you be intellectually honest and acknowledge the fact that Ben Shapiro has been smearing Nick Fuentes since he was 18 years old? We'll wait. We'll wait for your reply in the chat. We'll stop the entire stream just for you, because Jewish people always want all the attention focused on them at all times, disrupting what everyone else is doing, because you got to make it about you, right? Because you are the great fucking victims of the world. So why aren't you acknowledging that Ben Shapiro has been smearing Nick Fuentes since he was 18 years old? We'll wait, Sarah. You have 30 seconds to respond before I ban you from my channel. Do 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 psh do psh do boom boom. Sarah, we're waiting for your answer. Are you going to be intellectually honest and acknowledge that Ben Shapiro has been smearing Nick Fuentes since he was 18 years old? We are waiting with bated breath for your answer, Jew. We're waiting. Are you capable of answering a question? Are you capable of being intellectually honest in any part of your life? We're waiting. You're wasting our fucking time. We stopped the entire stream just for you, Sarah. We are waiting for your answer. Why aren't you answering, Sarah? Is it because you can't? Is it because you think it's acceptable to try to smear and defame someone and destroy their life when they're 18 years old? Do you think that's acceptable, Jewish woman? Oh, look! Oh, look! The Jew didn't answer the question! Is anyone, one in the chat if you are surprised that the Jewish woman didn't answer the question, two in the chat if you completely expected that the Jewish woman was going to completely deflect from the question. I'm curious. Did anyone expect that Sarah, who is obviously Jewish, is not being intellectually honest? One in the chat if you just thought that Sarah was going to come through for us and give us an intellectually honest answer. Two in the chat if you are not remotely surprised that the Jewish woman is not being intellectually honest. Let's see. Let's see what people say about you, Sarah. Let's see how many friends you have here. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Looks like you're getting a lot of people who think you're not capable of being intellectually honest, Sarah. No one is surprised that you did not answer in an intellectually honest manner, Sarah. Why do you think that is? Why do you think that is, Sarah? Why do you think that literally none of us are surprised that you're not being intellectually honest? Hang on, we got a super chat from Naruto. Never forget Jordan Peterson is a globalist. He created the conservative WEF knockoff organization. Hey, fact check true. 2. Sarah, you're digging your own grave by being dishonest. Sarah, do you think we're fucking stupid? Do you think we're fucking stupid? Do you have anything else you want to say, Sarah? Anything else? No. Sarah, you were asked a very direct question. Why are you defending Ben Shapiro from smearing Nick Fuentes since Nick Fuentes was 18 years old? Are you capable of answering that question or not? You are being intellectually dishonest. You were asked a very specific question. And Sarah, just so we're clear, I am the queen fascist bitch on this channel. You do not dictate the questions. You do not dictate the topics. I know you people think you run the fucking world, but you do not run my fucking YouTube channel. So answer the fucking question. Why are you defending Ben Shapiro from attacking Nick Fuentes and smearing Nick Fuentes from the time he was 18 years old? We're waiting, Jewish woman. Show us that you're capable of intellectual honesty. I think all of us would love to see for once that a Jewish woman is capable of intellectual honesty. Prove us wrong about you, Sarah. Why are you defending Ben Shapiro smearing and defaming Nick Fuentes from the point he was 18 years old? We're waiting. Do 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 do. Oh, wait, not answering the question. No. Okay, Sarah, you're now wasting our time. You're permanently banned from my chat. Go away. Goodbye. That, my friends, is how we handle Jewish bitches on my channel. And by the way, I don't actually care if people are Jewish. I care when they're intellectually dishonest. I just happen to have a lot of Jewish people that come into my chat that behave in a very intellectually dishonest manner. But if you're Jewish and you're intellectually honest, I don't give a flying fuck that you're Jewish.
Of like, yeah, that corporation is conspiring with that one, and that billionaire is conspiring in that one thing, and all that does happen. But when you look at these bigger pictures, like the gender ideology stuff, communism stuff, the control of Hollywood and the music industry, those are the places where it does really, like, there is actual evidence, it's not just harebrained theories, it's like evidence. And when you look at it happening over and over and over again across many generations of musicians, many generations of movie stars, that is not the kind of thing that is evidence of one little conspiracy or group. That is the evidence of a large control mechanism somehow operate, like a cult or a mob or
both.
Secret society, call it what you want.
Yeah, it's one of those things. When I before I got baptized Catholic, I just remember that one of the priests said that to me in English. He was like a very ornery English priest, and he was like, he literally said to me, like, you Americans know nothing about your own history. Like America was founded by Freemasons, and I was just like, huh? And I'm still reading. I'm still reading, and I don't know. There's actually a book that I'm reading right now that I can't wait to to finish. It's called The Secret Founding of America. Already my mind is blown. Like, everything we even know about the Mayflower, we are just one big movie that we have been watching. And if you don't do due diligence by yourself, and you have the public education system, and the worst part is you think you're educated. So if you got all A's, you take pride in the fact that you got a degree. And that's the problem with all of these degrees, is that it sort of artificially inflates your ego. It's like one of the first lines of attack is like, you don't even have a degree, or you don't even have, he doesn't know anything. He's not an expert. And the reason for that is because they have to keep people in that artificial bubble of thinking that their degree means something.
True.
Because what the degree actually means is that you have completed a course in your own miseducation.
Yeah.
And it not only is your own miseducation, and we made you pay for it. How completely
going
crazy
to
is
debt
that?
for it. Going into debt is different than paying for it. Create fake money that didn't exist before, that you don't have, that you're going to be paying off for the next 20 years, the rest of your life, whatever it is.
And the psychology, you're going to be a failure if you don't go to college. you don't go to college and learn about feminism and this and that.
But they will repackage your debt and collateralize it and then make money off it 4 ways till Sunday while you work to pay it off.
Right. You're already enslaved, I think, before you're enslaved economically before you even get into the real world. I'm going to just read a couple of ads. First and foremost, I want to get to preborn. You guys know how much I love preborn. We live in a culture that tells women that motherhood is a burden, that choosing life.
I'm enjoying this
either.
Actually. Hang on, let's back up a
USA
little bit.
help before the IRS. Keep going. What drives me crazy is when they take out these clips out of context, and even when they write the articles, they're like, Candace Owens says Sigmund Freud. I'm like, Sigmund Freud protected pedophiles. I'm like, I didn't say that. Like the director of the Sigmund Freud Archive Center said this, who worked under Anna Freud and read his work. And even just that little piece of removing something, it tries to make us all sound like we're crazy.
Bingo.
Why do they do this? Because they need people not to get to the source, not to get to the truth, but it's not working right now.
It's not. And it's the only thing they really seem to have in their arsenal is either censorship, shut it all down, or try to play on that sort of brain barrier they built into everyone they've educated in terms of like, you can't listen to that person, they're a kook. Don't listen to Candace, she's a psycho. But the problem is that they only have to hear you once in your original form, and toward like they just have to hear more than 15 seconds, and then suddenly the next 10 seconds they go, wait a minute, you didn't share that other part that she said where she gave the source, right? And ironically, often people in our shoes are so much better about sharing our sources because it matters to us.
Yeah,
A,
that's
because
true,
we care,
actually.
because it's the right thing to do, but B, because our livelihoods are on the line. And if you don't share your sources, you're in big trouble. Whereas the mainstream media rarely shares their sources. And often when they do, like Politico is famous. My favorite thing about Politico is they'll share their sources and it'll be a link to other Politico articles. And you'll just go in little Politico circles around from article to article without any actual primary sources anywhere.
It's all fluff. That's what I say. It's just all fluff. It's all made up words. It's one big circle jerk. It's all of them just saying, we're the experts and we've just said this. It's what do you have to do? You just have to make a report and say, I'm a doctor and I have a PhD. And so I'm saying if this person's Ted Bundy. And the thing that really bothered me about the psychopath classification is I'm going, wait a second. That indicates that I have violent tendencies. Like, what have I done in my life for you to be able to just go out there and be like, you know what, I'm just going to call this person violent. You know, this person could potentially rise to violence because.
Listen, Candace Owens should sue Jordan Peterson. I think Candace Owens should sue Jordan Peterson for defamation. It's not like, I mean, Candace has the money to do this. That would be amazing. You want to shut all this bullshit down right quick? Sue Jordan Peterson for defamation, because Jordan Peterson is accusing Candace Owens of like really serious things. Like as a psychologist, he's not actually allowed to do that.
She's declaring that Christ is king. Completely nutty. But something that I really loved was I really loved Tim Pool's response to this. And why I loved it is because Tim Pool's like, you know, the guy in the beanie, right? Yeah. Who's running a podcast with like a skateboard studio. And he just cuts right through the Jordan Peterson BS of pretending that we're all too stupid to recognize what you're doing with now trying to diagnose people who simply disagree with you, who have a different perspective than you. So let's just show that Tim Pool clip, because I thought that was actually pretty awesome.
The problem is that 4 to 5% of the population, something like that, is cluster B, that's the DSM-5 terms, histrionic, narcissistic, antisocial, psychopathic, or they have dark tetrad traits. They're Machiavellian.
Oh, I'm sorry, dark tetrad. I said triad. I was wrong.
That's about 4%. Okay, so the question is, how do these people maneuver? And the answer is they go to where the power is, and they adopt those ideas, and they put themselves even on the forefront of that. Right. But the ideas are completely irrelevant.
Right.
All they're doing is they're the Pharisees. They're the modern version of the Pharisees. They're the people who use God's name in vain, right?
Okay, let's pause real quick, because that's him basically saying Candace Owens, okay? So I've got the tweet from, let me see if I can pull it up here. Right, here you go. Jordan Peterson tweeted, Candace Owens is a true pharisaical pretender. She vociferously proclaims her devotion to Christ for no other reason than to evaluate a perceived status. Her outrage is designed not to shout the truth from the rooftops, build bridges or make peace, but to subvert Christianity itself with its new force to her own purposes. She is literally using God's name in vain. There are few more unforgivable sins. Jordan Peterson says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, you hypocrites. You are like whitewashed tombs, which appear beautiful on the outside, but inside are full of dead men's bones and every kind of filth. Whoa! Yo. Okay.
Oh,
this is
boy,
some kind
Jordan.
of like inter-factional beef. When Jordan Peterson mentions the cluster B, dark tetrad individuals, they go to where power is. That's the corporate press right now. That's what all of that was. The reason why they're marching in lockstep, the reason they're lying is because they're not there to seek truth. They're there to seek power and influence. I work for some of these organizations. The reason people get jobs there is because they want the platform to get followers. They want to be famous. They tell you things like, I always wanted to be a muckraker like Nellie Bly. I wanted to be like her. You're like, oh, so you're looking for vanity and attention. Okay, that's a bit unfair. If you want to emulate good behaviors, it's fine. But typically for a lot of these people, they're not saying they wanted to do the good work. They're saying they wanted that position and reverence that came with it.
Is they proclaim moral virtue.
Yes.
Doesn't matter whether it's right or left or Christian or Jewish or Islam. They invade the idea space and then they use those ideas as false weapons to advance their narcissistic advantage.
Yes.
And so then you have the problem, and the right's going to face this more and more, particularly because the left had to face it when they were in power.
Yes.
How do you identify the psychopathic parasites, 4% of the population, who are clothed in your clothing,
Not naming any
waving
names.
your flags,
Your
but who are
Yo, did homie just call Candace Owens a psychopathic parasite? Come on. Look, I tweeted at this clip saying, at Dr. Peterson, like, who are you referring to? He called Candace Owens a Pharisee, a pharisaical pretender in the Lord names in vain. He then does this segment, this bit. They've got this document he put out. Yo, he's literally calling her a psychopathic parasite.
It's just like Tim Pool just like read him his rights like right away. It's like, dude, what are you doing? Like, just have the courage at least to just at me and call me a bitch. I can deal with that. I'm a big girl, but like trying to dress it up in a report and use your like psychology degree to do it, all because you're upset because like I must have been working on this since I was a kid. Because like I said, my first book just recounts the entire story of how my grandfather insisted on us doing biblical study every morning at breakfast and how committed to his faith he was. And so I must have been like so committed to this game that I started it when I was 7 years old with my granddad.
That's why you're so good at it,
That's why
really,
I'm
is
good.
because, I mean, in order to be a real, pharisaical pretender parasite, you got to get them started young. And I just love how he uses so much jargony baloney to say, essentially what like I'm not saying that Jordan is doing that, but he sure is skating close to the sun where we're having discussions with sources about what we're seeing in the news, the way that our like journalists are supposed to do. And now we have a psychologist weaseling his way in there to get into the discussion and say, like, no, stop talking, like you're psycho, you're a parasite, shut it down. I have big words. It's like, okay, bro, you're not a part of this discussion because we're talking about stuff over here with sources. Do you want to talk about the facts? Do you want to call us a liar? Like, do you want to discuss the evidence that we're talking about?
They never do that. Names? They literally never discuss the evidence. Ever. How many times did I offer to debate James Lindsay? How many times did I say, here are my very specific grievances with what James Lindsay is saying? And this was before James Lindsay dove off the cliff into his woke right bullshit. I, for more than a year before James was even doing the woke right stuff, says, James, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this. I have video receipts to prove that you are wrong about all these things. I laid out a very specific list of grievances. I said, I will debate you anytime, anywhere, as long as I can use video evidence. And what did James do? She's a narcissist. She's a psychopath. She is a cluster B. She totally wants to fuck me. Pinky swear, trust me, bro. She's grooming my 28-year-old daughter. She literally tried to channel Hitler on the internet. Block her and her entire community. I don't know why you guys haven't blocked her yet. You should really block her. Fuck her. The only reason she's not banned on YouTube is because she's a Fed. Literally, those are all things that James Lindsay said about me. Because I said, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this, you're wrong about this. And I will debate you on these topics at any time.
By the way, and that's the thing, is he's too above us to just be like, you know what, she pissed me off, take off your hoops and just say some mean stuff to me. I can deal with that. Like, that's totally fine. Just don't dress this up like you're above an ad hominem attack and you've like thought about this clinically and psychologically. Like, it's just a different time. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a different time. Like, the Gen Zers are not going to go for this. The millennials, everybody's waking up and we can smell it as soon as you drop it. Like, that's why I love Tim Pool just destroying this in a beanie. Like, bro, we saw your tweet like 2 weeks ago. Now you're on a tour saying the same thing. But the only thing that Tim Pool gets wrong is I don't know if this is some factional beef. It's not. There isn't any factional beef. Jordan,
I've never heard you
if you are watching, you can come sit in this chair. I think it really just goes down to me being able to see through it, you know? And I think that when people feel seen and people can, oh, she just called me out for kind of like not living according to how I tell people to live, it kind of makes people go into a bit of a spiral. But I don't have any beef. I want Jordan Peterson to be the person that he writes about in his book. I want him to be an example to young men. We need more examples to young men.
100%.
It's not personal for me. It's just not personal for me.
And I think that a lot of these people that are, you know, continuing this gaslighting campaign, both the ones in front of the screen and probably the ones behind the screen, I think a lot of them are probably older people. And I think a lot of them don't understand the exact power of the way social media really does spread and the way that people really do. Like, I don't think they realize how much better the audience of young people is at reading comments and at checking the like ratios and at checking the reposts and at like getting the whole side of the story. I don't think they realize how much they're failing at this because they actually don't know how to use the medium anywhere near as well as the audience does. And so they're just continually blundering and blundering and blundering. And Douglas Murray and Jordan Peterson are just two examples, but they are stark examples of these sort of like kind of dinosaur-y neocons trying these outdated tactics that really just make you look better.
I know. Thank you. I'm not clothed in anything. I can barely fit anything right now. I'm doing this week. I'm doing 4 days. I'm not trying to wear anybody else's clothes. Okay.
And for like how much of a ride you've been on and how big you've blown up, you're like one of the least narcissistic people in this entire industry. And I've met a lot of people in this industry by now. And, you know, a lot of them are great, but there are some narcissists in this industry. And you're definitely not one of them. You're super chill.
I just genuinely just want to have fun.
Like, a lot of people say that about Candace Owens, but like, I know of underhanded shit that Candace Owens has done behind the scenes. Like, I know for an absolute fact Candace Owens has done underhanded shit behind the scenes. So it does kind of make me question it. I'm like, listen, I'm sure Candace Owens can be very, very, very nice. But maybe, you know what? Maybe I should give Candace Owens a break. Maybe there was a time in her life when she was a little bit more of a bitch than she is now. And maybe getting married and having kids has settled her down. And maybe she's not doing as much of the underhanded shit anymore. I mean, I don't know, man. I think you always need to make room for people to grow and change. And maybe someone who behaves like a bitch 5 years ago isn't necessarily in the same position now. And maybe they've grown and changed. So maybe I should give Candace Owens a second shot. I don't know.
And talk about ideas with people on the internet. And I feel so remarkably blessed. You know, I have a husband that loves me. I have children that I'm literally obsessed with. I think they're just like the most adorable people in the world. And I want people to find that happiness. And I really do think that it only comes from not looking to the external world for approval. You know what I mean? Like actually knowing that I have things that can't be taken away from me, and to lay your head in the pillow every night and know that you're just telling the truth. And if you get it wrong, but you have the humility to go back, and I've seen you do this and I do this, and I go, you know what? I said this and that was actually not right. So I want to update that. And I'm just so happy that we're moving into that energy, that like the mainstream media is failing, the experts are failing, and people are angry about Ian Carroll. Like, I love when I watch people go on like an Ian Carroll angry spiral, because I'm like, he's so happy and he doesn't care about this. He's going to keep making videos. You're literally being triggered by a guy whose TikTok says, yeah, not an expert, but interested. Like, you're interested. And people appreciate that.
Just trying to learn stuff and have fun. And yeah, like Douglas Murray trying to pose to Joe that I was an expert. My literal Twitter bio says not an expert in anything but sarcasm. And you're so right that it's water off your back. And you said something really important that I want to highlight, is that when you have like love in your human relationships in your real life with real connections with real people that fill you up every day, the internet is just, you know, a game that you play on your phone, and it does not matter. And I think that unfortunately America is so full of people without love in their immediate life without real connections, without marriages that are happy, without parental relationships that are happy, that a lot of people actually are missing real human connection. And so the internet becomes this stand-in for human connection. But the internet is, especially X, is made to feed off of hatred and anger and arguments, and the algorithm's really good at feeding you angry arguments too.
Yeah.
And so many people get turned into rage bots when they really are a good person in their own heart. They just don't have anything filling their heart up to help them stay in that energy. And
that's why I think people need God. I really do. 100%. I think people need God, and it's like you just need to fill yourself spiritually with something else. But like I said, it's been a really nice pivot. I'm trying to make predictions for Hollywood because you and I were kind of saying before we went live that there's so many pieces that are coming together at the exact same time. And it's beautiful because it is bringing together the left and the right, which we never thought was going to happen ever. And that's why I have been obsessed. And I know you don't know much about it with this Blake Lively case, but what is at its core is really kind of the end of Hollywood. It's realizing that the people that we put up on these platforms are not good people, that these are the people that are egotistical and maniacal and just want to get their way and care so much about that positive feedback from the audience they're willing to do or say anything. And you probably know just a little bits about the Blake Lively case. But
I followed a little bit. Yeah,
it was not a publishing thing, by the way. It's like just wanted to destroy this guy, Justin Baldoni, to take his movie. Anyways, she's been doing press for her next movie, which is A Simple Favor 2. And because we got to watch, I mean, what was so unique about this case was we had a woman who made an allegation, being Blake. And if you read it, it sounds horrific. What she says was done to her on set. You look at Justin Baldoni and you go, he must be like basically close to being a rapist. Like if you just read her complaint. Then they dropped the footage of the moment. That is what is so unbelievable, Ian, is we got to actually watch her, quote unquote, sexual harassment. And it was just the exact opposite of what she said happened. And that is what has outraged people. It's because the New York Times gave us a vision, she gave us a vision, and then we got to see the thing. And people were very frustrated. So she recently appears at this gala and over the weekend, because she got honored by Time Gala for being a wonderful person, for donating to Black Lives Matter in 2019. It makes no sense, but like very good PR.
City's got to burn,
well spent
Candace.
money.
City's got to burn.
And so how she tries to get out of this PR is she brings her mom to this Time Gala and she gives a speech about how her mom was like sexually assaulted or raped. Like you're just going to grift off of somebody else's incident. And I just want to play a little bit of her speech because I just didn't even know what to make of this PR move of like, okay, I maybe got caught making stuff up, but let me tell you about what my mom lived through in the 80s. Take a listen to this.
My mom never got justice from her work acquaintance who attempted to take her life when she was the mother of 3 young kids years before I was born. She has always credited her beating heart today with the story she heard from another woman in a similar circumstance, speaking on the radio as my mom drove home one day, entirely unaware of the future ahead in which she would call upon this critical moment to save her own life. The woman painfully and graphically shared how she escaped. And because of hearing that woman speak to her experience instead of shutting down in fear and unfair shame, my mom is alive today. She was saved by a woman whose name she'll never know. I am alive and standing here with you all today, being honored because of a woman whose name I'll never know. I am here and my mom is here because that woman not only survived, but she told others how.
Ian, your thoughts? This is just a PR move I've never seen. It's like, I got caught with my pants down lying. And so I'm just going to kind of grift off of, and like, I have obviously, like, if that happened to her mother, that's terrible. It's awful. Yeah. I'm glad her mother survived it. But this is the PR move.
Maybe the wrong strategy. If you get caught being a fake rape accuser, essentially, maybe don't go grifting off of other rape situations.
It's like Jussie Smollett just is like, you know what? I got caught with this fake noose in the Subway sandwich, but let me tell you about my great uncle.
He was the victim of racism.
He actually, let me just hold his hand right here.
And I'm only here today to be the fake victim of racism because my great grandpappy was really a victim of racism. That's so bizarre.
It's bizarre. It's a bizarre PR move to be like, I'm just gonna grift off of somebody who actually did survive something because I got caught with the Subway sandwich and the noose in the Arctic Chicago weather. And my name's Jussie Smollett, but I know people who actually did get lynched. Or
I do have black friends.
I
Candace.
do have black friends. It feels like that. Like it feels like I have black friends kind of a moment here.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't believe. I'm like, this is what I mean. They don't get that the public is not going for this. Like the public can just see through this. Again, nothing personal against her mother.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure her mother lived through all that and like that, but it's just what?
Well, it's also like from a technical standpoint,
You
it was
guys-
kind of a confusing telling.
You guys just all like his mustache. I don't see the attraction. Listen, I'm not saying he's a bad looking guy. I'm not trying to shit on him. I don't look at Ian Carroll and I'm like, oh my God, he's like so beautiful. Like, but I think this is just like a gay guy thing where you like all like his mustache.
Of a story, because if I heard her right, it was that her mom had heard an account of a survivor, and then during an abuse situation, her mom was in that other accounting, had inspired her mom to. It was a confusing story a little bit, and so from like a storyteller's perspective, as as we are people that communicate for a living, I was a little lost on what actually the story was and what the gala was not about. Was the gala about rape at all?
Nope. The gala, she was being honored for giving money to, this was also weird and confusing, for giving money to BLM when she gave it really as a hostage because people were mad at her because she got married on a plantation.
Awkward.
And so she gave money to BLM and the woman was like, we're honoring her for time now. And then she brought her mom and spoke. I mean, the entire thing is just, the public is stupid. We're going to get out of this one. Don't worry. And you're not. Like, let me tell you guys, I don't care who you are. Just tell the truth. We are very clearly in the age of just tell the effing truth. Okay. Yeah. We'll take it. Whatever it is. Even, I swear this could have been done months ago. All she had to do was be like, you know what? I was tripping. I want Blake to just be like, I was tripping.
Yep.
And I'd be like, I respect that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I respect that.
Exactly.
I was, women, we get a little cray-cray.
I mean, Brigitte Macron would have done well to do the exact same thing. Listen, Candace, I'm sorry. I was tripping. I know I kind of like married my nephew allegedly, but I was that would still have been a better move than what they did.
I was tripping. I don't even know why I married my nephew like that. And I'd be like, it's, I'm glad you were at least here.
Whoopsie daisies.
This is so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a couple more sponsors that I wanted to start with too. American financing, you guys, interest rates have dropped and it's time to take advantage. A lot of Americans are struggling.
I am enjoying this show, so let's finish it up
today. Okay, Ian, we have to tell them now. We're already up to an hour, which is crazy. I could talk to you forever. People want to know what the schedule is going to be, when you're going to be taking over for me. They want to know when I'm having this baby, when I'm going to be back. Guys, these babies
already here, yo. You didn't hear?
He's right here. He's right here.
You didn't tell them, Candace?
Guys, babies decide when they're going to come. I have no control over this. I'm not scheduling an induction. I'm just going to let this little dude decide what he wants to do. Yeah. And hopefully it's an easy birth. And so I'll be back whenever. But Ian, they want to know your schedule, what days you're going to be covering, and like anything you can tell us about the topics. Yeah, you're not allowed to swear.
I can pull it off.
I'm being a fake Christian. So, my psychopathic
Don't worry,
Christian
I can be a fake Christian too, Candace. I can do it. I mean, my fake earpiece is falling out. So I'm like, I need to pull out my calendar to make sure I get the dates right.
I think
here.
It's May 12th is when you start.
Yeah, May 12th is the first day I'll be here.
Did you say 10, Skylar?
Yeah. May 12th is that Monday. And then we'll probably be doing 3 episodes a week. And if I'm really crushing it and keeping up, because you work hard, you guys put out a lot of shows. And I mean, it takes a lot of research and such. So if we're crushing 3 days a week, we might move up to 4. But you set a high bar. And so then I'll be here until you need me to be here. Right. And I've got a few other things. I might just like
it so much. I keep him here forever.
It's pretty sweet here in Nashville. And it's pretty sweet. Your team is awesome. But I'm scheduled to be here for up to 8 weeks, give or take. And if something goes crazy, I'll be here until you need me. And if you're ready to come back early, then you come back early.
And if he has like a super exciting topic, I'm going to jump in obviously for random stuff. I was telling him I'm beginning to look into like the Idaho 4 Brian Koberger stuff. So he in a dangerous combination. I see why they hate us. I actually totally empathetic about, I'm like, you know what? We are just so interested.
On the lying team.
Yeah,
it's rough being on Team Lies.
Exactly. They're lying. A hard job. And they hate us for telling the truth. But I'm definitely going to pop in content occasionally. I will be keeping up the book club, so don't worry about any of that. Guys, I'm going to get to some of your questions and comments that you guys are rolling in before we get out of here. Brittany Douglas writes,
the end of the show. Okay, I actually really enjoyed both those episodes from Candace. I really enjoyed Candace shitting colossally on Jordan Peterson. I think this was an excellent happy hour. So I want to remind everyone as we wrap up, first of all, please make sure you mount the like button on the way out the door. Please make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Please make sure you have notifications on. I don't want anyone making excuses. Karlyn, I didn't get a notification. Bro, I don't control YouTube, but just make sure you got them on. I don't know. Maybe you got unsubscribed. It happens all the time. I want to remind everyone, tomorrow at 2 p.m. Eastern time, we are having a very special Socialism Live episode because it is the first episode of Red May. And Red May is the Seattle Revolutionary Socialists producing all sorts of socialism content for us. And they are streaming their very first Red May stream. And I think that all of us need to show up at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. And we need to wave hi to Philip. And I want everyone in the chat saying, Philip, we missed you. We're glad that you're back, Philip. We're really looking forward to this year. I want everyone to be very, complimentary of Philip because he works very hard putting this little communist extravaganza together. And this is going to kick off a month of socialism for Red May. And we're going to be watching a presentation called Capitalism's Grave, Neo-Feudalism and the New Class Struggle. And that's going to be at 2 p.m. Eastern tomorrow as a special edition. At 6 p.m., we will go live for the regular episode of Socialism Saturday. So we're doing a double feature tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. As a reminder, head over to the Substack. That is Karlyn, KARLYN.substack.com. I am doing a membership drive. I would like 400 new paying members of the Substack by the end of the summer. That is 4 months to get 400 new paying members. And that is going to get me to a goal that is going to allow me to do more undercover work. And I would really like to do more undercover work. I know we're doing the virtual infiltrations and that's all fine, well and good. But sometimes you have things that you actually need to go to in person. When you have things that you need to go to in person, that costs plane fare, that costs hotels, that costs a lot of extra stuff that people don't understand. I try to operate very, very cheaply. Honestly, my per event rate is actually very low compared to other people who do this. But I need your help. Make sure you go over to the Substack. And if you are in a position to financially support the work I'm doing, sign up for $8 a month, $80 a year. And how'd the beer go? The beer was great. And the kiwi beer is also good, but I may not have had a lot to eat today, so I may be starting to get a little drunk if I'm honest about it. Anyway, if you want to send me beer money over on the Substack, you can do that as well. $8 a month, $80 a year. You guys keep me in business. I will show you content on the internet that no one else is showing you, including exclusive footage today of teachers in Vermont public schools openly rebelling against the Trump administration, saying, we're not going to follow Trump's executive orders. They say this explicitly. You can find this clip exclusively on the Substack. I am the only person that has this because this is an infiltration that I did earlier today. All right. So make sure you do that. And you know what? That's it. That's all I have. I'm starting to get very drunk because I haven't had a lot of food today. You know, people always say, Karlyn, lose weight, lose weight, lose weight. Well, sometimes when you drink beer, when you haven't eaten a lot, you get drunk. And I might be almost there. So that means it's time to leave the internet because God knows what I'm going to say if I continue to stay on the internet. Anyway, I think we had a really fun show today, guys. I appreciate all of you. Thank you to everyone who supports my work, especially. And I will see you guys tomorrow for our socialism double feature. And it's going to be awesome. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye.
How are you feeling? How long have you been here?
3 months, May 17th.
And what brought you?
That's difficult to answer.
playing the piano for people has eventually resulted in your being here in the hospital.
That's difficult to answer.